All right, here we go. This is March. This is March, folks. Start of springtime here, and as always, we've got March Madness around the corner. I mean, if you want to count the first four, just started yesterday, but here we go. Here we go. Look at that. We've already got a couple people in here. We got Caden and we got Cam in here saying, well, let's go. Welcome to the stream, guys. Good to have you in here. Got the new setup. I don't know if you've seen the new setup yet, Cam. Back in Fargo here for a little bit in between jobs, but we're sticking with the streams, just doing some fun off-season vibe stuff, right? But we've got a fun one here today. We're going to do a little bit of a free agency roundup, a little bit of an off-season roundup, right? Feel like the dust is settled now with some of these trades, some of these signings. Didn't get to hit everyone last Monday. And fun little twist here in honor of March Madness. Shout out to the homie Caden. Made a couple of NFL-related brackets for us to fill out here today. So we've got, I think, 3 different categories, right? It's Super Bowl champions, MVP seasons, and then first overall picks. So, just filling out a nice little bracket of maybe some of the best of those different categories. Pretty chill stream today. Pretty nice and even-keeled, pretty relaxed, but always nice to just hang out, talk ball a little bit. Look at that. We got Pear Champ in here, too. Let's go. Saying, hey, Doc, how's it going? It's going pretty good. How about you, man? It's been a week, but you know what? We're here. We're settled in, and we're going to have a fun stream here tonight. I've got my water. I've got a bunch of different tabs opened up. I had to finagle with my setup a lot here today, actually. Long story short, this is going to sound hilarious, but went to Canada this past weekend. A lot of fun, by the way. Highly recommend. Went up to Winnipeg. Great city. Had no idea how big it was, but had a very good time up there. But long story short, I had to rearrange my setup a little bit because I actually brought a few things with me. And so like my webcam and my ring light got taken off and a few things got shuffled around. So I was kind of scrambling all over the place to get everything set back up. And I tell you what, I don't know what it is, but my keyboard and mouse have not been working quite as well recently. Like, I don't know. Like, I know, like, there's the whole Bluetooth thing, and especially with the Logitech, like, the cheap Logitech stuff I have, like, the signal's not the strongest, and it kind of needs to be close to where it's plugged into, but man, today has just been killing me, so I apologize in advance. You might see me, like, really struggle with my keyboard a little bit, but we're going to make it work. But getting settled in here. I think we'll dive in here soon enough, right? Enough beating around the bush. We'll just start by hitting some of the news, right? There's actually been a lot of news that came out today. A lot of rule changes, like I hinted at in Discord. Might have some things to say about some of these proposed rule changes, and we'll just hit maybe a few of the big moves that have happened since Monday and some of the guys that are still out there. But here we go. Nice turnout here tonight. Hope you guys are all having a nice Wednesday night. But yeah, let's do this. Again, I have no idea how long this one is going to go here today. I know typically around like the 2-hour mark. We'll see, give or take a little bit, right? But just taking it easy here tonight. Pear Champ's doing all right. Kind of want Rodgers to just retire, but it'd be funny if he goes to the Steelers and they don't have a winning record. Yeah, well, let's just start with it. The absolute shocker. Oh, the shocker of it all. Can you believe it? The Vikings are going to play the quarterback that they took 10th overall last year. Dude, I can't believe it. Because it just would have been so epic if Rodgers went to the Vikings because he was a Packer and then he was a Jet and then he'd be a Viking. And Brett Favre did that. And that'd just be so sick. And, who cares if the Vikings already have a quarterback at an obvious pivot point, right? Dude, the memes would be epic. Sorry, I'm being a little snarky. I don't know. I have been through the ringer when it comes to this whole Rodgers to the Vikings thing. But here we go. Shout out the homie Tom Pelissero, the Pell Raiser. Finally, hopefully, ending the madness. I know the Athletic is still trying to stand on business. Diana Rossini's like, no, hold on. They still want him. I swear. But looks like the Vikings are going to be rolling with J.J. McCarthy. They're not going after Aaron Rodgers. It looks like it's really just down to the Giants and the Steelers at this point. Like Pear Champ is saying, I'm sticking with my take. I think Rodgers to the Steelers just makes the most sense. You look at the way their offense is built out. Their line is kind of decent, right? And they do need to make a big move at quarterback. I mean, I don't know if struck out on Sam Darnold is the right term, but I mean, like they don't have a new guy in place yet. And let's be honest, dude, they can't run it back with Russ again, right? And Justin Fields is on the Jets now. I feel like a Fields for Rodgers swap essentially kind of makes sense for both teams given where they're at right now. And even if Rodgers is just a 1-year rental, like, dude, they got to try something, right? Maybe he's still got like one more good season left in the tank. But yeah, looks like it's pretty much official, right? The Vikings were just, my theory is like the Vikings just kind of got sick of all this noise, right? And they're like, all right, we're gonna tell Tom Pelissero, like, no, we're not doing it, right? Now I believe like maybe they slightly considered it and they made an offer. I saw something like the offer they gave him was like 1 year, 5 million, which isn't like a serious offer, right? They're like, we'll see if he takes it. But no, I mean, there's no way they're gonna do this, right? They've been building for 3 years now to try and set up an ideal environment for a rookie quarterback. Kwesi, our GM, has literally said, like, verbatim, it is a financial hack to have a quarterback on a rookie contract. This is always what we wanted. We were not going to throw it away for some 41-year-old head case who still might be good. It's just not worth it. If we were going to go the vet route, we would have brought back Sam, So I will say there was a small part of me every day that passed. I went from like thinking, oh, there's a 1% chance it happens to 2% to like 3%. I think I peaked at like maybe 8%. Oh, this is going to happen. Even 8%, that was a little high for me. It was a little scary, but I'm glad to see we're rolling with JJ. He's the guy, right? For better or worse. If he goes in there and he stinks, whatever. We tried. What else can you do, right? We set up a good team for him. What else can you do, right? You got to try. So, yeah, it looks like it's going to be coming down to the Steelers and Giants. I would lean Steelers for Rodgers personally. Pair Champ saying Vikings could still have some concerns if J.J. McCarthy isn't fully healthy and ready to go at the start of the season. That is true, right? There's the injury aspect of it. I will say, and we'll get to the Cam Robinson signing, actually. It's right here. This actually connects to everything. I think now that Cam Robinson is signed somewhere else, they are going to go after a vet quarterback now. It has to do with the comp pick formula. I won't pretend to be an expert on it, but from my understanding, right, since Daniel Jones is gone, and now Cam Robinson is gone. The Vikings, since they lost both of those guys, they can go sign another guy now and still get a comp pick. So they're pretty much waiting for Cam Robinson to sign somewhere before going to get a vet. My guess is it'll be like Joe Flacco or Ryan Tannehill, something like that. Some old head, right? But we'll take it. Yeah, we do need another guy, though. I mean, Nick Mullins is gone in Jacksonville now. See, here we go. I'm typing, and it's literally not... I meant to do Vikings, not IKEA. But if we look at the Vikings depth chart, like straight up, there's like not really a second quarterback. I think maybe Brett Rippon is still there. Nope, it's literally just JJ. So they still need someone, but yeah, it's not going to be Aaron Rodgers. It might be another Unk though. It might be Joe Flacco or something. But we got Jack in here too. Welcome to the stream, Jack. Good to have you in here. Saying Cowboys are winning the Super Bowl. Who's going to tell him? Probably not in 2025, but I don't know. I don't think that they're going to be like maybe a complete train wreck if they stay healthy, right? They honestly played a lot better once Micah Parsons came back. They were also without Dak for a little bit. It's a very top-heavy roster, but it's not a bad team. I certainly wouldn't pick them over the Eagles or anything, but I could see a world where they finish second in that division next year. I could see a world where they beat out the Commanders for second place. I know Mr. Commanders hater back at it again, right? I think it's possible. I don't know that I'd pick that right now, right? Like gun to my head, I don't know if I'd pick that, but there's a possibility. I don't know. I think they're closer to the Commanders than a lot of people think, personally. But I can close out the March Madness PNG search, making the thumbnail earlier. I was scrambling, but Jack saying Texans extended Danielle Hunter for 1 year, $35 million. Really? I did not see that. That must have just happened or something. That is a big deal. That's only $5 million off of what Myles Garrett got. Granted, it was a 1 year extension, but still, that must have just happened or something, or maybe it happened earlier and I missed it. I know the Texans also gave out another big contract. Derek Stingley, highest paid corner in the league now, highest paid corner in league history, right? J.C. Horn had his reign for like a week, right? Hey, I was kind of gassing up the J.C. Horn signing a little bit earlier. I was like, the cap always goes up, right? There is an injury concern, but he's really good. And honestly, like, he might reset the market for now, but it ain't going to last for long, And now Stingley got his bag. Sauce and McDuffie are going to be next. I mean, truly, it could be like the start of May, and J.C. Horn is already down to like the fourth highest paid corner now, right? That's just how it goes. But yeah, Texans making some moves. Let's pull up this Danielle Hunter extension. But I agree. I mean, could you say Stingley is like the second best corner in the NFL? I might put him over Sauce at this point. I don't know. Sauce had like one down year, so maybe that's a bit of an overreaction. I think he's probably 3 at worst, though. Like, honestly, I think it's Sertan. If you want to put Sauce at 2, go for it, right? One down year. You don't want to overreact too much. Fine. Stingley at 3, though. I mean, I feel like that seems pretty fair. I don't know, man. Yeah, he's pretty good. He is a beast. And he was drafted a pick before Sauce, too, right? And honestly, it's worked out pretty well for him. I think it's worked out pretty well for Houston. I guess I had Daniil Hunter's Pro Football Reference page pulled up. I am all over the place right now. Let's see this extension. Oh, look at that. Breaking news from Jack Indeed. That came in 13 minutes ago. I don't even think I've got the notification on my phone yet for it. Daniil Hunter getting the bag. Oh, my goodness. Yeah, Pell Rays are coming through again. Let's go. Shout out Tom Pelissero. He's going to be making $32 million in 2025 and $55 million over the next 2 years. I was like, there's no way. There's no way. 54.1 of it guaranteed. Deserved, though, honestly, right? He's definitely a top 10, if not top 5 edge player, right? I mean, for all the things that went wrong for Houston last year, he was certainly not one of them. He is 30 now, but he's still probably got a few good years left in him, right? It's crazy, though. He's only 30, right? I mean, he was the youngest player in the league when he came into the NFL. He has been around for a minute now, but it still feels like he's kind of at the tail end of his prime. But yeah, he was a beast for them last year. He had some injury concerns for a little bit, right? There was like that solid stretch of 2 years where he played 7 games, but he's been a beast the whole time. He is a heck of a player, so I like it. Maybe a little bit more than some of the other moves that Houston has made on their offensive line. But oh, we got Christine in here too. Let's go. Saying hi, doctor. Welcome to the stream, Christine. Good to have you in here. Doing a little off-season roundup. And then in a little bit, we're going to be diving into some NFL-related brackets. Should be a good time. Should be a good time. Shout out March Madness. Am I right? Caden saying worth it. Stingley's so good. Cornerbacks eating, and I absolutely love it. Yeah, that's been something a lot of people have been talking about, right? The corner market is starting to maybe course correct a little bit, closing the gap with wide receiver. We're seeing corners get paid a little bit more again. There was a while where honestly corners weren't getting paid a ton. I mean, still more than like, I don't know, guard or fullback, right? But, you know, it's good to see. It's good to see teams value corners a little bit more. But yeah, Texans signing Cam Robinson, they also brought in Ed Ingram. It was so funny seeing all these Texans fans be like, Ed Ingram, is he any good? And I immediately think of that one meme you see on Twitter where it's like the guy kind of smirking, putting his hand on the other guy's shoulders, like, how do we tell him, right? It's like, how do we tell him? Yeah. I don't know. Houston's doing an interesting job with their offensive line right now. I mean, that was like the big problem with them this past season, right? It's not even that they were like completely devoid of talent, but it just, and again, I say this as someone just like sitting in my parents' guest room right now on my nice comfy office chair. And it's not like I would have done any better, but they didn't seem particularly well coached. Like anytime a team would run a stunt or a blitz, like they just straight up did not know what to do, right? But now there's no Laramie Tunsil. They bring in Cam Robinson, who was all right for the Vikings. But every time he got left on an island, he didn't do that great. They got Laken Tomlinson. I mean, Ed Ingram, I guess he's listed as the second guy right now, right? But, I don't know. Caden asking for my thoughts on the Tunsil trade. Here's what I'll say. I think it's a weird move for the Texans, right? Because Tunsil still is a pretty good left tackle, right? And again, he's one of those guys, I will say, he is declining a little bit. He definitely had his worst season of his career this past year. And he's another guy like, okay, he's 30 now. Maybe there's a decline coming soon. He didn't fetch a ton in draft capital, which I like for Washington, although I will say they have been trading a lot of their picks, right? They are kind of going all in, which I can respect, but it is, you know, like they better hope that like what they have now is kind of good enough, right? Because man, they do not really have a lot of draft picks for these next few years now. I think it's all right. I do think it's a little head scratching for Houston. Like, I just don't know how you could see CJ Stroud get killed out there last year. And, like, I get they want to completely rebuild their offensive line, but I don't know about trading your star left tackle necessarily. And I feel like their line now, at least talent wise, is decidedly worse. But he is going to be getting paid a lot, right? He was due for a big contract. Houston had some tough decisions to make. If you're Washington, your offensive line definitely punched above its weight last season. But I don't blame them for being like, nah, it needs to be better, right? I mean, we saw what happened when they played the Eagles in the playoffs, right? Like, they did need to take some big swings and make some big moves. I'm gonna give it like a B for the Commanders, and I'll give it like a C minus for the Texans. I don't know. I think the Commanders still. I mean, they got the best player in the trade, right? I guess it was a player in picks, but the Commanders definitely got the biggest piece of the trade, if that makes sense. So we'll see. We'll see. But it was all right. But that was an interesting one. I remember I was out on a walk when I got a notification for that. I was like, oh, really? Okay. Yeah, we got Daniel in here too. Let's go. Welcome to the stream, Daniel, saying, you think Shane Bowen has any shot to fix the Giants defense? Low key, that's one of the units, unironically, this is not just because you're saying this. That is a unit that I actually kind of have my eye on a little bit going into this next season. You know, they've made some moves, right? They lost some guys. I saw Azeez Ojulari went to the Eagles yesterday. They've got some interesting pieces in there, though. I kind of like what they're building a little bit. I love the safeties with Javon Holland, bringing him in from the Dolphins, and then Tyler Nubin, who had a pretty good rookie year, right? Thibodeau hasn't quite panned out, but man, Brian Burns is a dude. Dexter Lawrence is a dude, right? I don't know. I don't know. I don't hate what they're building necessarily. They could maybe use another guy in the secondary, maybe another corner, although I don't know. I like the Pulse of Debo signing a little bit, right? They've made some moves. It's on my radar. It's not a bad unit by any means. I think maybe they could use another edge player. But Lawrence and Burns is a great foundation up front. I don't hate it, honestly. I could see this 2 years from now being a really good unit if they play their cards right. And this might sound like a backhanded compliment. I don't think it is at all. I think they could be like a league average defense this year with some splash play potential. I mean, Paulson Adebo, he's a dude that's always around the ball, right? If you look at like havoc rating, I don't know if that's the actual stat, but there's a stat that pretty much like finds the rate of like a guy getting an interception or a defended pass, stuff like that, you know, out of how many times they're targeted. He is always near the top. He is an absolute dog. He'll get burned every once in a while, but I don't know. He does enough to make up for it. I love the way that he plays. I love corners like that. So they do got some guys on that defense. So I don't know. I don't hate the unit, honestly. Low key, the Giants quietly had a pretty good draft last year. I know the big takeaway, right, was, they let Saquon go and they were a disaster and Daniel Jones wasn't good. And now the whole conversation is, who's the quarterback going to be? And I get it, right? And the offense still has a lot of work to do, right? You might want another pass catcher beyond Neighbors. You need some more guys on the line and you got to figure out who the quarterback is going to be. But Neighbors is a certified hit. I liked Tyrone Tracy. He had a pretty good rookie year, right? And then, again, Tyler Nubin, same draft class, right? They quietly had a pretty good draft last year. So we'll see. They're in an interesting spot. I don't love them keeping on the coach and GM, to be completely honest. I do think, having the third overall pick, this was a natural spot for them to just kind of do a full rebuild, embrace like bringing in some new guys, right? Get some fresh blood in there. Because I do worry a little bit that they're just going to make decisions based off of, oh my gosh, we got to keep our jobs, right? If they want to go quarterback at 3, whatever. I don't think it's a very strong class. I think they could definitely trade out or consider going elsewhere, but they're probably going to go quarterback at 3, right? Unless they get Rodgers. But I'm a little skeptical about that, but they do quietly have a decent start to their rebuild, I will say. I just wish they would have fully committed to the rebuild and gone all in. Daniel saying, can they get enough coverage to keep teams from exploiting the light boxes? Caden saying, if they get a good cornerback, there's a chance in the draft. And it's not a bad cornerback class either. So what are their draft picks looking like right now? I don't even know if we can check on ESPN or not. I know it's not like Madden where you can toggle to the draft picks. But again, it's not like this was a good team last year. They're maybe a little bit better than a 3-win team, though. Oh yeah, there's your guy right there, Kobe Bryant. Yeah, I was introduced to him. I'm like, oh, there's another Kobe Bryant. There is. Yeah. Not even like another Kobe Bryant from like the basketball player, but there's another defensive back named Kobe Bryant who's already in the NFL. I think he's still on the Seahawks. But anyways, that is my Giants take. But good question. I feel like I haven't talked a lot about the Giants recently, so it was nice to say a few nice things about the Giants because I feel like most of the time when the Giants get brought up, it's Saquon, you know. So nice to get a little positivity in for the New York Football Giants. But, oopsies. I'm all over the place right now. Oh, man. My mouse is still going crazy. Kobe is a dog? Yeah, Seahawks. Another team, like, honestly, there's been a lot of chatter about how they've approached their offseason, and I get it, right? It's like, I just liked Geno a lot, but I get it. They want to get younger at quarterback. I will say, though, that defense is pretty darn underrated. They were 10th in the NFL on EPA on defense, if I'm not mistaken, this past season, which I know is a little bit of a nerdy stat, right? But I don't know. I like using that stat to judge the strength of a defense overall. Let's pull up the Seahawks defense real quick before we dive into some of the other news here. I just had it. There we go. Now, I kind of like what Seattle's built on defense. I know they brought back Ernest Jones too, right? Yeah, there he is. Yeah. Boya Maffe's turned into a solid player, right? Big Cat Leonard Williams could have been like all pro. I think I had him as my second team all pro this past season, right? They've got some guys. Julian Love was pretty good for them, right? They paid him and he rewarded them in a big way. I love Witherspoon so much. He's another guy. I just love the way he plays, man. He is one of my favorite archetypes of players. Just those slot corners that are just absolute dogs and just heat-seeking missiles that fly around the field. And Mike McDonald's done a pretty good job coaching up the defense too, right? So, it's not bad. The Seahawks will not be a bad team, right? I don't know if it'll quite be a Bills situation where it's like, oh, they rebuilt, but like they're going to be just fine. It'll be the same as last year. Because, man, they were pretty darn close to making the playoffs. I mean, they missed the playoffs on a technicality of like strength of record or something like that, right? There's a lot of... Oh, didn't mean to highlight all that. There's a lot of work to do here. But they've got draft picks. They've got a few extra picks now after their trades. So we'll see. We'll give them another year to cook in the draft and see what they can cook up. And hey, how about Cooper Kupp going to the Seahawks, right? We were talking about that last week. There's still a part of me, it's like, I guess this means JSN's going to be playing a lot more of the Z now, right? He's going to be on the outside, but he still might not be on the line of scrimmage. They're probably going to ask him to play outside more. And it's not that he can't do it, right? I definitely prefer him in the slot, but sure, if you want to put him at the Z, sure, he's a good enough route runner and all that. He's quick enough. You can make it work. Kupp at this point in his career is probably really a slot-only guy, but I will say, like I said last week, I like the fit in the run game. Like, genuinely, that is one of the most exciting things about this signing for me. It makes so much sense with them bringing in Clint Kubiak as their offensive coordinator, right? It is going to be a lot of wide zone runs. And, man, there ain't a single wide receiver in the NFL that's better at blocking on those type of runs than Cooper Kupp. So I really like that. I totally see the vision. I can just see it now, right? Kupp is going to be in a condensed formation. He's going to be in the slot, but really close to the offensive line, and K9 is just going to explode through the hole. So I do like that. I could see Kupp and Charles Cross, right? Low-key, no disrespect, Cooper Kupp might be the second best blocker on the team behind Charles Cross. But I could see the vision of them opening up a nice hole for K9. And you know what? That would be a nice thing to see, because K9 in the open field, he's a lot of fun to watch. So let's see it. Worst case scenario, Kupp is an amazing mentor, and I still think he's got a little bit left, right? I mean, shoot, like he was when the Rams actually made an effort to get him the ball, he was pretty good, right? He was pretty good in that playoff game against the Eagles, right? There were some games like the Bills game or the Patriots game where he was pretty good. It was really just a matter of they just weren't targeting him. Like, they just weren't getting him the ball. And if you go back and watch the Rams, like, he just was not really a part of the progression. Stafford wasn't looking his way. Straight up, McVay just kind of got bored of him. He's like, I have Puka. Puka's my new toy now. And they wanted to use Puka way more. And with Kupp becoming kind of a slot-only guy, that kind of constricted his role a little bit. So I guess I get why the Rams wanted to move on. And obviously, now they got Devontae. It's like, yeah, I see the vision, right? Why did I ever doubt the glorious, glorious Rams? But I do like it, though. You know what? And it's like a bit of a homecoming for him, right? FCS guy from Eastern Washington. He grew up 2 hours from Seattle. So I think there's still some good football left. He might not even hit 1,000 yards. He might be close to this stat line or 800 or 900 yards. But I think if you get that and what he brings in the run game, honestly, you're pretty happy with that. If you got 800 yards out of Cooper Kupp, I think you're happy if you're Seattle. I think that's realistic. What are they going to do in the draft, though? I feel like they have to go line, though, right? I know some people have been saying, maybe Tyler Warren, right? Tight end out of Penn State. Even though that might be kind of fun. Nah, dude, you got to get a lineman. I'm sorry. You got to get a lineman. Just my 2 cents, personally. But Jack says, worst case scenario, Kupp is... I think I might have already said that. But yeah, amazing mentor. Oh, yeah, right. And he's been around the block at this point. He's another guy that's been around for a while, had some injuries. And he's a bit older, too, because he played so long in college. But, oh, yeah, there's still some good football left in there. Caden saying exactly why I wanted him on the Packers as opposed to Diggs. Bro wanted Cooper Kupp, but ain't got Cooper Kupp money. McCole Hardman it is, champ. No, there's no way Green Bay is done, though, right? There's no way that Mecole Hardman's the only guy they're bringing in, right? Come on, there's no way. Hey, all I'm saying is Diggs is still out there. That's all I'm going to say. He's still out there. He's looking for a team. I just like the fit in Green Bay a lot. That's what I'll say. Jack saying in Kupp's press conference, he stated he doesn't really like the view that he and JSN are slot receivers. They both believe they are more than just that. That's fair. And certainly, I'm not going to try and correct Cooper Kupp, but... certainly at the peak of his powers, when he, in 2021 with the Rams, he was more than just a slot guy, right? He was playing outside a good amounts, and, they just asked him to do so much. And it's not even just being a slot guy is a bad thing either, right? Maybe at this point in his career, though, I don't know, Kupp seems to have lost a step just a little bit. Just based off what I've observed, I do wonder if he is maybe a little bit more of just a slot guy now. Not that there's anything wrong with that necessarily, but I could definitely see JSN being a guy okay, we'll give him a lot more looks on the outside. That makes sense. Jack saying, and JSN has shown great flashes on the outside. That route he ran to win the game against the Eagles 2 years ago was filthy. Fair enough. The Drew Lock game, right? All right, fair enough. You know what's crazy? I didn't know he was lined up on the outside for that play. Fair play. I'll give you that. So, but yeah, they needed to get another receiver in the room right after losing Lockett and DK. So, but JSN is absolutely ready to be the one. I could see him going for 1,400, 1,500 yards next year. Man, if you're playing fantasy, go get him. Go get him. They're going to feed him. And Sam likes to chuck it. A lot of the routes are going to give him. I don't want to oversimplify it too much of JSN is their Justin Jefferson. But I could see a lot of deep dig routes like KOC likes to do with Jefferson, which he does on the inside and on the outside. So yeah, and that's where Sam likes to throw. He loves throwing those in routes 8 to 12 yards downfield. That's where JSN is going to eat. There is a world where he's the most targeted player in football next year, I think. I don't know. Maybe not with Kupp there anymore, but still, maybe. Caden saying, I'll take Cooper, as in Amari Cooper. I suppose he's still out there too, right? I know I had this pulled up a little bit. I guess this is just all the free agents. If we look at the guys that are still left, I think Amari Cooper is the top available here. Yeah. He's maybe trending a little bit down. I think Diggs is a little better than Cooper, to be honest. I don't know. If I was making this list, I honestly think I might put Diggs above Cooper. Maybe the injury spooks you. And again, I get there's been a little bit of history with Diggs not being a happy camper and leaving. But first year Diggs before he's mad, it's perfect, But yeah, there's still some receivers out there for your Packers, right? We have to scroll a little bit more now. I don't know. A lot of them got gobbled up. Elijah Moore, Keenan Allen. Hey, speaking of Keenan Allen, kind of, I said as a joke, Mike Williams back to the Chargers. What do you know? Mike Williams back to the Chargers. Low-key don't hate it, though. They still might need a more serious, consistent threat out there, right? Because you just can't bank on Mike Williams staying healthy, and he's had all his injury concerns, and he's been a little up and a little down, right? But at least from a personnel standpoint, like that type of receiver makes sense for the Chargers to pair him with Ladd on the inside, right? But Jack asking if Caden would take Keenan Allen, I'm assuming, and saying, now just imagine if Tet McMillan falls to us. I'm delusional. Dude, I don't know. I mean, I've seen Tet McMillan fall in some of these mock drafts I've been reading, and these are just like predictions, right? I think it was Daniel Jeremiah said, like where I have a player in my mock draft, that isn't necessarily my evaluation of them, but just like what I'm hearing around the league. I will say I've still only watched a handful of prospects so far. Tet is one of them because I just really wanted to check his game out, right? I don't know, man. From what I've seen, I think it would be crazy if he made it out of the top 10. I think he's a great player. People are like, oh, his 40 at his pro day, 4.55, ew. It's like, dude, I truly don't care. I truly don't care. I think he's a good football player. I think he's a much better route runner that he gets credit for. I think he's solid after the catch, not amazing. And man, he could go get that football. And honestly, there's not a ton of receivers out in the NFL like him. At least not a lot of good ones, right? Just a true big-bodied X. I don't know. The Drake London comparison is easy and maybe a little bit lazy, but I like it. I like it a lot, man. I'm not saying he'll be quite as good as Drake London, but I don't know, man. Like if I'm the Patriots and he's there, I'd seriously consider taking him at 4. If I'm the Raiders at 6, I'd seriously consider taking him, honestly, right? There are just so many teams that need that type of receiver, and I think he's pretty darn good. I could care less if he ran a 4.55. Man, we do this every year. We did it with T. Higgins. We did it with Keon Coleman. Just, a big receiver didn't run a 4.3. They're not Randy Moss. No. It's like, I don't know, man. I don't know. That's not the only measure of speed, I don't know. When you watch Tet, I don't think, wow, he's so slow. I don't think he's like blazing fast or anything, but he's got NFL speed, absolutely. Caden liking Keenan, saying, you know what? Yes, I would, but I don't know that he'd come here. See, I could see it. Keenan's another guy where it's like, man, he's probably slot only at this point, and he's kind of a little washed too. Maybe he didn't have the greatest year in Chicago. He's been kind of battling against the washed allegations for a while, and just out of nowhere, he kind of went crazy in 2023 for a little bit. But I don't know. Jack saying Packers should have just done Wicks in their first for DK. Not biased or anything. Kaden said I wouldn't hate it, but I'm not big on locker room presence, and he doesn't get a great rep. Yeah, for DK, yeah, but. Man, Dontavion Wicks, surely one day those shares will pay off, right? My Dontavion Wicks stocks, surely one day those will cash and those will work out. Let's see what else. Oh, yeah, the second season of quarterback, I saw that. I might watch it. We'll see. Oh, yeah, there's the Mecole Hardman signing. J.J. McCarthy. Oh, yeah, I saw that. Rondale Moore to the Vikings. Sure, what the heck? Why not? Sure. Bit of a heat check. Vikings have had a few heat check signings. Jeff Okudah to the Vikings was announced yesterday too. It's like, that's a Brian Flores heat check. He's Steph Curry pulling up from like 33 feet right now. It's like, we saw what we did with Sam Darnold. Maybe we can do that with Jeff Okudah too. We'll see. But what the heck? Rondale Moore, yeah, I'll compete for the number 3 receiver job, right? Probably a battle between him and Jalen Naylor. I mean, he might just be our new Brandon Powell. If he's our new Brandon Powell, I don't hate it, right? Like, and by new Brandon Powell, I mean Rondale Moore might get like 3 cool plays in a season, but like they're nice, important plays, right? Like, I don't know. It's like late in the third quarter. It's 3rd and 8, and we draw up some crazy designer play for Rondale Moore, and he takes it for like 27 yards, and that's like a game-changing play, right? Or, he has a nice punt return in week 12 or something like that. So, I can't imagine that we paid him a lot of money, right? Again, if Rondale Moore is out there getting like 80% of the snaps, it's like, we've got a lot of injuries. But if he's just like a gadget player, sure, what the heck, right? Go for it, No issue with that. Over under 6 weeks into the season, McCall is back on the Chiefs. I could see it. Caden says, I'm okay with not getting a wide receiver 1 as long as the guy we get is a bona fide wide receiver 1 to be a mentor. So, you mean... You mean like you want just like a guy that maybe used to be a straight up wide receiver one that could be a mentor, so like a Keenan Allen, I guess, or an Amari Cooper. I get that, right? They definitely do need some more experience in that wide receiver room, though. That's definitely the biggest thing that's missing right now. Worthy for Hardman. Yeah, I don't know that the Chiefs are taking that one. All right. I guess the Bengals paid their guys. That was a big thing, right? They finally did it. Some people are up in arms about who they paid. And again, on the surface level, I think it does look a little silly. Like, man, their defense was so bad, and they're choosing to not pay the one good defender that they had, right? Of course, I mean, they still could try and pay Trey Hendrickson, but man, that's just a lot of money tied up now, right? There's a lot of money tied up between Burrow, Chase, and Higgins. Now, and I criticized the Bengals a little bit last week because, like, come on, let's go. Like, we just got to pay some guys at this point, right? Burrow is begging and clamoring for guys to get paid. Like, come on, let's do something at this point. Like, let's go, let's go, let's go. Come on. And they finally did it, you know. And again, I get it. Like, the defense is just straight up not in good shape. But to your credit, Jack, like, yeah, you know what? Those contracts might age well because, again, the cap is always going up. It is literally, except for the COVID year, it is always going up, right? And if you look at the deal, like, honestly, the T. Higgins contract, I don't even think the T. Higgins contract is that bad. He got about the same amount of money as Jalen Waddle, who Jalen Waddle, I think, used to be the highest paid, like, wide receiver 2 in the league or whatever, right? And that came last year. So, you know, adjusting for inflation, right, he got less than Jalen Waddle got. And if you look at the way this Bengals offense is built, with how they like to just spread everyone out, Joe Burrow, he's a real hooper at quarterback, right? Say the same thing about Aaron Rodgers. He likes to get in shotgun. He likes to spread the ball around. They don't do a lot of designer stuff. They don't do a lot of motion, right? Just the way they run their offense and the way Burrow likes to play football, a lot of it is just like, we're better than you ball, right? They have their wide receivers, they line them up. They don't do anything fancy. They just win on their routes. Burrow will trust him. He'll throw the ball up and they'll go and get it. So to keep Higgins in the building, that makes sense, right? To have that true X to complement Chase, who can play both the Z and the slot, right? Everything just makes so much sense. And we saw, I mean, this offense was so sick last year. We finally got to see them be healthy again, right? This passing game is sick. Now, the passing game alone is not enough to get them into the playoffs. We also saw that, right? I mean, you can call them unlucky. Nah, they were not unlucky. They were just an imbalanced team. They have their work cut out for them. It might be a few more years of this. It might be a few more years of 9-8 and like just missing the playoffs or like just sneaking in as the 7 seed, right? However, right, let's say they lose Trey Hendrickson like this year. Let's say that they trade him or something, or I don't think they'd cut him, but like, let's just pretend Trey Hendrickson is not on the team, right? Would the defense be bad? Yeah, I'm almost certain it would be. And but as silly as this may sound, I don't want to oversimplify it, right? Trey Hendrickson was on the team last year. Trey Hendrickson got 17 sacks last year. The defense was bad, right? Not like any player could do it, but Trey Hendrickson wasn't like willing this defense to like being all right, right? He's a very good player. He is. He is a great player. I would say he's probably a top 10 edge player. But again, another guy just, he's on the wrong side of 30. I think he is good. He's just personal preference. I like guys that are a little bit more stout against the run. And it's not that he's bad against the run, right? But I could see like in a year or two, he's not getting 17 and a half sacks anymore. Maybe it's like only 11, right? But it's like, man, we're paying him like Myles Garrett money, right? I can understand the logic of, man, we just need to hit on our defensive draft picks, right? I mean, that's been the thing that's killed this team, right? None of the young guys that they've brought in these past few years, because they have tried to get this defense younger and like refresh it a little bit. Myles Murphy hasn't hit. Chris Jenkins, granted it's been a year, but he hasn't hit yet, right? Dax Hill hasn't really hit yet, right? Geno Stone, a guy they brought in free agency, hasn't really hit. They have tried, right? Chris Jenkins was going to be the replacer for DJ Reader, right? Dax Hill was supposed to be the Jesse Bates replacement, right? Myles Murphy was kind of supposed to be the Trey Hendrickson replacement. They just straight up have not hit on any of these guys yet. If they do an even decent job in the draft this year, if they can even get a decent defensive draft class, I can see the defense being better next year. Now, it might go from like 31st to 25th, but they just, I mean, it's as simple as like they just need to draft better, right? That has been what has been killing them. But the passing game, you've got that in place now. You know that at least gives you a high floor. All right. You will have like picks in like the high 20s, or you know what I mean, like 20 to 22 for the next few years, right? You got to make them count. You have a foundation, but you got to hit on your draft picks. But honestly, I get it. I honestly kind of agree with their decision to choose Higgins over Hendrickson, if that's what it comes down to. Honestly, I get it. As crazy as that may sound. Michael, welcome to the stream, saying the Bungles is the Bungles. Fair enough, right? A little bit of AFC North rivalry action. Yeah, I mean, again, I'm not even saying that like it's going to happen, right? Like their track record hasn't been great. And I am Mr. like, well, you need more than just like a passing game. And it's true, but they have ensured that they will have this for the next few years now, right? I like Yoshivas too. I really like Andre Yoshivas. I like Gesicki. It makes me so happy to see Gesicki finally used as he was intended, right? Just a giant slot receiver. They got to hope like they hit on Mims in the draft, right? Like he played a little bit and he just didn't play a lot in college, right? Like they got to hope that they hit on him, right? They got to figure out the offensive line a little bit more. The line and the defense they need to figure out. But if they do, whoo boy, we saw what happened a few years ago when this team had a good defense, right? There's something there. There's something there. But that was some of the other big news. It finally happened, you know. But to be fair, like I said last week, man, if they would have done this a little bit earlier, they would have had to pay as much, and those contracts would have looked even better. Even better. But Jack saying that's how sporadic the contracts have been rising. Also, I think the Bengals need to play these guys more. Oh, the defensive guys? Yeah. We'll see, man. I was hoping last year we were going to like see something out of Myles Murphy, dude. I feel like I couldn't tell you like a single thing about Myles Murphy, to be honest, you know. I don't know. I'm saying, Doc, who do you think has the best free agents moves? Top three would be Rams, Vikings, and Bengals, as long as they can keep Hendrickson. Yeah, that's a fascinating one if they're going to try and keep Hendrickson too, right? Because if they do, then straight up like 50% of their salary cap is going to be tied to 4 players. It's a good 4 players to tie it into, but whew, I still wonder if Hendrickson's the odd man out. Honest to goodness, if I'm the Bengals GM, I would seriously see like, hey, can we get a first for Trey Hendrickson? If we can, I might do it. I seriously might do it. Even if it's like a late first, like if the Commanders are like, screw it, like we couldn't get Myles Garrett, we just need another pass rusher. We're already kind of showing that we're all in, right? Like, I don't know. If I'm the Bengals, I would call the Commanders and be like, yo, Trey Hendrickson for a first. Do it, please. Oh, I would think about that. I don't know. That's a trade I've made in my head. It's happening. It's happening. I'm assuming you mean just like re-signing their own guys. Yeah, I mean, it was good for them to get those deals done. I'm trying to think of other teams that have made good moves in free agency. I mean, hey, I'm surprised we haven't even talked about this yet. I do like some of the moves that the Vikings have made after Monday. See, my mouse is going crazy. I'm so sorry, y'all. We'll get it eventually. There we go. I just had to move it even closer. I'm going to have to figure this out. Colts moves are pretty nice. Yeah, bringing in movie. Cam Bynum and Charvarius Ward. Much needed overhaul of the secondary. They lost a few guys, though. I think they lost a few guys on their offensive line, and they're pretty good, man. I'm trying to remember where they went, but I think there was 2 interior offensive linemen that the Colts lost, and it's like, man, that's a big loss. Whoever they're going to, man, that team's got to be grinning ear to ear right now. Let's go. Put the fries in the bag. Dude, I'm not gonna lie. We were talking about this on Monday, right? I said, I don't know that we're going to get Will Fries now because we got Ryan Kelly. Like, okay, that's probably our move. Bang! Oh, we had a crazy nuke Tuesday morning. Will Fries. Dude, that one's got me fired up. Straight up might be like a top 10 guard in the league, starting to enter his prime. He did have an injury last year. A little bit of a concern, but Man, he's so good in pass protection. Oh, and he's got that experience with Ryan Kelly, so you get a little bit of continuity built in already. Oh, I was begging for them to address the interior. And you know what? They listened. They listened. I loved the moves on the offensive line. Absolutely loved them. And you know what? Okay, we made some moves. We bring back Byron Murphy and then Isaiah Rogers in the secondary. Here's what I'll say. Here's what I'll say. And I kind of hinted at this on Monday, right? So the Vikings bring in some new guys on the defensive line too, right? Jonathan Allen and Javon Hargrave. Those are the two big signings. A couple of very, very big names. Jonathan Allen, I still think is a pretty good player. I think he's a great pass rusher, and he did deal with injuries last year. There's a lot of money. I'm gonna give this move like a B minus, I think. I don't think that this is a complete home run. It's certainly an improvement, but again, on the wrong side of 30 now, has dealt with some injuries, has seen declining production a little bit past few years. I will give you, though, he was pretty good at the playoffs, especially in that Lions game. Like he still showed a lot as pass rusher, right? I think the Vikings pass rush has the potential to be sick next year, and they brought in Javon Hargrave. I'm a little more iffy on this one. I don't know. I think he's kind of on washed watch a little bit. Again, still maybe offers a little bit as a pass rusher, and he was very injured. I mean, he barely played last year, right? 2022 Javon Hargrave ain't walking through that door. I can promise you that. If we got 2023 Hargrave, I'd be ecstatic. I'm maybe not quite expecting that. Here's what I'll say, because I don't want to be too pessimistic, right? Because I was like begging for the Vikings to sign defensive linemen, and then they did. I'm like, well, not these ones. That's not Milton Williams. That's not Tershawn Wharton, you know? But I'm still a little nervous, and I've been so annoying about this. I'm still a little nervous about teams just running downhill on us. I'm nervous about these power running games, right? Like what we saw the Rams do to us, like what we saw the Cardinals do to us. We were able to win that game, but my goodness, the Cardinals were just bullying us, right? We did bring in two defensive linemen, but they're a little bit more of lateral movers, a little bit more pass rush type. Now, I was thinking about this. The vision that I see with this, the thing that I think is like, okay, this at least makes a little bit of sense. And the way I'm going to justify it, as silly as this may sound, who is the one player that has owned the Vikings harder than anyone else the past 2 years? Who has owned Brian Flores' defense more than anyone else? Who has just gone absolutely crazy against us every time we've played him? 4 times past 2 years we've played this dude, and he has just eaten us alive. I mean, he has caused me to crash out, literally. I ascended from reality when this guy went off against us. It was on stream. Jahmyr Gibbs, right? We got absolutely killed by those Jahmyr Gibbs runs to the perimeter. So I can at least see the vision of like, okay, we've got some faster moving guys up front, some guys that can move laterally and make splash plays on those outside runs. I think this team will be a lot better on those runs to the perimeter now. And Jahmyr Gibbs, Lord Almighty, he shredded us. He shredded us on those perimeter runs. So that I see the vision with. I'm still a little scared about like David Montgomery going crazy against us or Josh Jacobs going crazy against us. Just a little bit, right? And we'll see. Maybe Jonathan Allen like turns back the clock or something. But overall, the pass rush should be pretty nice. I mean, I could see us cooking up some nasty looks. Like I could see Flores getting weird and putting like Jonathan Allen at edge. And Andrew Van Ginkel gets moved to off-ball linebacker. And like he and Josh Metellus are blitzing up the A gap, and then you've got like Jonathan Allen and Dallas Turner at edge or something crazy like that, right? So there's a part of me that's like, let's just let Flores cook, and Flores we trust. Like, okay, we'll figure it out. I'm going to be a little annoying about I just wish there was a little bit more mass. I just wish we were a little bit tougher. We could just push a little bit more. I still think there might be some games where we get pushed instead of we're pushing, at least on defense. On offense, though, I'm thrilled. I'd give the Vikings, this is my long way of saying, like, I'd give the Vikings like a solid B+, maybe even A-. I do like the moves they made in free agency a lot. I can't lie. Kwesi might have done it again. You know, say what you want about his drafts. They haven't always been perfect. But man, Man, oh man, has he managed our cap situation well? And has he just done the right thing in free agency? I feel like even if some of these guys don't pan out, as silly as this may sound, and I know this is so dumb and I'm just like Dr. Pigskin, but to me, it makes me happy when it's like, okay, the Vikings see the same team needs that I see, and the Vikings are serious about addressing the things that like I see that concern me, right? I don't know. That is a refreshing change. It's nice to see the Vikings take some of those issues seriously. So, Rams were obviously pretty good, right? I love the Devontae signing a lot. Who else had a good free agency? Let me think about. I guess we'll dish out some nice free agencies and some not so nice. One that I didn't love was the Chargers, and I was hyping up the Najee signing a lot, but outside of that, they didn't really do a whole lot, to be honest. Oh, Rams got Poona Ford too. That's right. Bills did a good job with their extensions. Dolphins, average. Zach Wilson's an interesting one. Who knows? Maybe Mike McDaniel wants his Sam Darnold. Patriots spent a lot. Some of the moves I like more than others. Garrett Bradbury. Go for it. He's fine. He's fine. There will be like 4 games a year that he gets absolutely rocked and it costs you the game. But the other 13, he's fine. You know, probably better than what they had last year. Let's just look at a few more teams here. Then we're going to get into these brackets. I'm fired up for that, though. Michael saying, bring back Everson Griffin. Man, I hope he's doing all right. He's had an interesting career. I don't even know what he's up to these days, but I know he's had some troubles in the past. I hope he's doing all right. He was a funny dude, though, man. He was so funny. He was a good player for a little bit. Ben Johnson, yeah, he's the other guy that's killed us, right? Ben Johnson has just killed us, yeah. And, of course, he's still in the division, right? But don't worry. Surely he won't be as good as a head coach now, right? Come on. Josh McDaniels all over again. Surely. Come on. Titans spent a lot on their offensive line. Maybe they overpaid, but they needed to get better. Broncos made some nice moves on defense. We talked about them last week. Still might be a playoff team next year. Raiders, yeah. Love some of their moves. Let's see. Who have I not really talked about yet? I mean, the Bears spent a lot. I think they'll be all right. I don't want to be too hard on the Bears. Like, getting Tooney was huge, right? And they needed to just invest in the offensive line. They got a whole new interior. I'll give them credit for that. Lord knows they needed it. That's a lot of move for the Vikings. One more Vikings thing. Eric Wilson depth piece. Let's go. I like it a lot. We need more depth at linebacker, right? We had Pace and Blake Cashman deal with injuries a little bit last year. As much as I love seeing like when Metellus lines up at linebacker or Andrew Van Ginkel lines up at linebacker, it's a lot nicer when that's done as a luxury and not a necessity, right? I think about that Seahawks game when Ivan Pace was still hurt. It's like, man, there's a lot of snaps of Andrew Van Ginkel at linebacker, and it's fun every once in a while. But man, if there's another injury, it'd be nice if we just had another option in there. So I like bringing Eric Wilson back. Falcons are just kind of doing their thing. Panthers. I don't know, man. I feel like we pretty much hit all that. Oh yeah, the goat finds his new team. Okay, I actually don't mean this right. Come on, Kyler, don't play this year. Put Jacoby in. Let him play. Yeah. Oh yeah. 49ers brought back Kyle Juszczyk. That was another thing. I was so shocked when they cut him. All right. That was a little off-season roundup right there. We got to hit a few of the things we didn't talk about last time, right? I got to get my Vikings yapping in a little bit. Here we go. Time for the main event, if you will. Again, shout out the homie Caden, who has done us a favor and has cooked up 3 nice little small brackets for us to fill out, right? It's March Madness. Everyone's filling out brackets right now. So I thought this would just be a fun little thing to do, hang out, just do this for a little bit, do it on stream, right? I only took a slight peek at this one just to like test it out and make sure it works. But what we have here are 3 brackets for first overall picks, MVPs, and Super Bowl winners. So pretty much it's like me ranking these, but in bracket form, right? And I think most of the stuff is pretty recent. So let's just pull up this first overall picks one, right? And when I first saw this, it took me a second to realize it's seeded just by like how recent it was, right? Excuse me. These are the last 16 first overall picks. And it's just like in order, right? There's no seeding based off of strength. Because when I first opened this up and I saw Matthew Stafford as the 16 seed, I was about ready to throw hands. I was like, how dare you disrespect Matthew Stafford on this channel to me of all people? How dare he be the... I was like, oh, it's just an order, right? Because Caleb Williams won. You got Bryce Young, right? But just pretty much, okay, I'm assuming, and I might want some clarification here, Caden, but I'm assuming it's just who's had the best career, right? Or is it like who's been the best prospect? The way I see it is like who's had the best career, which I think makes a little bit more sense, right? Like who's been the better player / had the best career, right? That's probably how I'm going to do it, but we'll just fill this out really quick, right? So first round matchup, Caleb Williams and Matthew Stafford. I mean, come on, right? I mean, Stafford might be a threat to win the whole darn thing, honestly. We'll see how Caleb and his career play out, right? Because again, like it's year one. Obviously, a lot of changes with the Bears. You have to imagine there's some better football in them, right? But I mean, this is a no-brainer right now. Either who has the best career or who you'd rather build around. Ooh, I don't hate that either. I don't hate that one either. I think I'd say Stafford for both. Though. Jack saying Garrett or Burrow is winning. Oh, we'll see. I will give Garrett this one though. Garrett over Goff. Oh yeah, I mean, and Goff has carved out a pretty good career for himself, right? I mean, looking back, like he maybe got carried a little bit on those Rams teams, but again, like he was a pretty good quarterback for him, and he's been great in Detroit. I mean, this past season, I think is probably the best football he's played in his life. But yeah, I mean, Myles Garrett is honestly probably one of the best defenders I've ever seen. He has lived up to the hype and then some. Rightfully so, the highest paid defensive player in the NFL. So yeah, we'll go Garrett for that one. This one might be a landslide too. Loki, forgot about Eric Fisher. Yeah, Burrow over Fisher easily. Burrow might make a run. I don't know that Burrow is gonna win. Oh, we'll see. He might have an interesting matchup on the horizon here. But yeah, we'll go Burrow over Eric Fisher. That seems pretty easy. Here's a fun one. This one is a fun one. Andrew Luck versus Trevor Lawrence, the two generational quarterback prospects, right? I mean, these are definitely the two highest graded prospects coming into the draft, at least from my football watching life, right? Luck and Lawrence. It's got to be Luck. As much as I love Trevor, right? I mean, Andrew Luck, man. He is a what could have been, but also like he did have an amazing career, even with him retiring early, right? I mean, I truly think, man, he's a what could have been because it's such a shame that as soon as the Colts started building like a decent team around him, right? If you look at the 2018 team, right? They were pretty good. They won a playoff game. They went 10-6. Luck was balling out again. He was a beast after not playing in all of 2017 and missed some time in 15 and 16, right? Like he had so much potential, but also like he was just the man too. I mean, there were plenty of years where like Luck was honestly probably a top 3 quarterback in the NFL, right? His 2014 season, very underrated overall. I mean, leading the league in touchdown passes on a rather unremarkable Colts team going to the NFC or AFC Championship game. And he had potential for more too. I mean, man, you look at like the 2019 or 2020 Colts, like honestly, if Luck would have been around for like the next couple of years, I'd say even up to like 2021, like from 2019 to 2021, if Luck was on those teams, there's a shot that one of those teams is playing in the Super Bowl, honestly. And it's just such a shame. We saw 1 year of him on like a good team with a good offensive line. And I don't know, man. It is a shame. But yeah, I would say Luck pretty easily over Trevor. And I say that as someone that likes Trevor. This one's going to make me sad too. Although I love Cam Newton. He's one of my favorites. Yeah, Trayvon Walker didn't have a chance in this one. Jack saying it's Luck, no question. Oh, yeah, I'm with you. Pearchamp saying Burrow is his number 1, Stafford or Garrett as 2. Ooh, I'm thinking about some of these matchups that we're coming up on here. It's getting a little interesting already. We're already getting a little bit of madness going here. Clowney or Kyler Murray? This is an interesting one. I'm actually thinking a lot about this one. I think the default answer might be Kyler, right? Call me crazy. I'm a little tempted to say Clowney. I feel like Clowney, all things considered, has been a very underrated first overall pick, right? I mean, he had such an insane amount of hype coming into the NFL, right? I mean, he was seen as like a Myles Garrett level prospect, and then he got injured his first year, and the sack numbers were never really there, right? No seasons with double-digit sacks, but very Trayvon Walker-esque in that he he had a solid stretch where he might have been the best edge defender playing the run in the NFL, and that means a lot, right? And especially like when you had J.J. Watt and Whitney Merciless there as pass rushers, like what Clowney was able to do in the run game was a big deal. Honestly, these Pro Bowls and that AP All-Pro nod were warranted. Like, I really think so. Even though the sack numbers weren't crazy, he was so good against the run. He has had a very underrated career. Him versus Kyler is an interesting one because Kyler's shown so many flashes of being a high-level quarterback, but he hasn't been able to stay healthy, and there's been some late season collapses, and he's just been so inconsistent. This is not a diss on Kyler. This might be crazy. I honestly think I might go Clowney. I really think I might go Clowney here. Clowney's had a great career in the NFL. He really has. I'm with you, Jack. I'm taking Clowney too. And he had a nice year with the Ravens a few years ago. I'm going Clowney. Mayfield or Winston? Gotta be Baker, right? I mean, Winston's been an interesting ride, but Baker, especially with like his second act in Tampa now, right? Had a few good years in Cleveland, dealt with some injuries, dealt with the Browns being like, we want an adult in the room, but man, he has found a home for himself in Tampa. Had the best season of his career last year. He's not perfect, but he's pretty good. He can sling that football. I like the way he plays too. Yeah, we'll go Baker over Jameis. Sam Bradford or Bryce Young? See, I feel like Bryce is at a disadvantage just because he's only played 2 years, right? So maybe that's where the who you'd rather build around can come into a little bit. Bradford is kind of a what if too, right? I mean, he had so many injuries. Ask any Vikings fan, right, about the one game of 2017 Sam Bradford. It's like the was it Vince McMahon? Oh, he was the greatest, Sam Bradford Monday Night Football against the Saints. Oh, I've watched a lot of Vikings football in my life. That is up there for one of the best single game performances by a Vikings quarterback I've ever seen. That was like the promise and the potential of Sam Bradford. Man, he could throw a pretty football. He had some decent seasons, but overall he was a little underwhelming. He dealt with injuries and he wasn't always on the greatest teams, and he was behind a lot of bad offensive lines, which put him at a disadvantage because he is kind of an old school quarterback. He's very statuesque. I almost want to take Bryce, but I'll take Bradford. I feel like Bradford's peak has just been a little bit higher than Bryce's for right now, but that could change. But all right, we have our Elite Eight set now. Stafford or Garrett? This is a tough one. This is a tough one. I feel like Garrett's peak is a little bit higher. Stafford's definitely got the longevity. I like Stafford a little bit more, but I'm going to be honest. I'll be fair and honest. I'll take Myles Garrett over Stafford. Oh, that would hurt me, though. That would hurt me. Man, Stafford not being in the Final Four is a bit of an upset, but yeah, we got to go Myles Garrett. I think that's fair. As a close one, though, Burrow or Luck? Here's an interesting one. Yeah, Jack was saying Burrow and Luck is going to be interesting. Call me crazy. I'm taking Luck. Straight up, I'm taking Luck. I don't know. I think he's a little bit better of a quarterback than Burrow, and I think Burrow is phenomenal. I think they're at about the same tier. It's tough. It is tough. I'm taking Luck over Burrow, straight up, dude. I don't know. And I watched so many Colts games growing up, too, because my childhood best friend and next door neighbor, well, I guess he was across the street, was a Colts fan, so I watched a lot of Colts games. Man, I saw some completely mid Colts teams win like 12 games, dude. It's like, dude, this team has no business having a winning record, let alone like winning playoff games, right? Oh, some of the throws that Andrew Luck could make. Oh, some of the moves he could make in the pocket. Oh, some of the comebacks that he led. I'm taking I'm taking Luck over Burrow straight up. Jack says that's crazy. I don't think it is, dude. I don't think it is. I don't know, man. Could you? And I hate to do like the whole hypothetical, could you imagine thing, right? But at the same time, could you imagine Andrew Luck with Jamar Chase and T. Higgins, dude? Oh my goodness, right? I mean, those Colts lines were like just as bad as those Bengals lines, right? Oh, I mean, I'm sorry, dude. Luck is thrown for 5,000 with Chase and Higgins. I don't know. I'm standing on business with that one. I would take Luck over Burrow. Michael likes it. Let's go. If I took Stafford over Miles, it would have roasted me. Yeah, I get it. Maybe I get a little overboard with my Stafford love sometimes. All right, Cam or Clowney? Clowney with a nice little run in the first round. We got to go Cam, though, right? I mean, hey, again, another one of my all-time favorite players, right? Has an MVP to his name, but even just beyond the MVP season, Cam had some great years with the Panthers. Maybe injuries cut his career a little bit short, right? But, man, you got to go Cam. And then Baker or Bradford, pretty easily Baker, pretty easily. All right, here we go. Final four. Myles Garrett and Andrew Luck. Oh, straight up, I feel like the winner of this one is winning it all, right? Garrett or Luck is a tough one. I am going to go Garrett, though. I will go Garrett. I mean, he has been probably the best in the league at his position for a while. Probably been the best defender in the league for a while. Sorry, Luck. Nice little Final Four run for him, though. But Baker about to go to the finals by having the easiest bracket. Oh, nice little run for Baker. No, I'm taking Cam over Baker. I don't know, man. Where's Baker's MVP, right? Where's Baker's trip to the Super Bowl? Where's Baker's celebrations, plural, that changed the game, right? I don't know. That one's a tough one, and no disrespect to Baker. Like, he's had a great career. I don't know. I feel like it's easy to forget just how crazy prime Cam Newton was, right? Not always the craziest like counting stats and like, yeah, the completion percentage was low sometimes, but what he offered as a runner, just that rocket arm. It's been a decade since the dab was cool, maybe, but it was cool. And there's one man that made it cool, right? Before it became like the epic irony dance or whatever, right? There was a time where it was cool. Only Cam Newton could make the dab cool, right? And he had the Superman celebration. Come on, man. I don't know. Maybe this is my Cam bias taking over a little bit. I don't think so. He was great in 2017, MVP in 2015, fantastic in 2013, great rookie season. He had more than two good seasons, man. There was like a solid 4 or 5 season stretch where he was like top 8 quarterback, with one year where he was like the unquestioned best quarterback in the league. I mean, he was Josh before Josh. I'm taking Cam. I feel good about that pick. I get there. He didn't quite have the consistency that you might have hoped that he had. I'm taking Cam, and then we'll take Garrett over Cam. There we go. All right. Winner of the first bracket, Myles Garrett. Best first overall pick? That makes sense. I feel like that's legit. All right. We're just going to save that and then see if we can go back. Is there a way to? There we go. All right. MVPs. MVPs are Super Bowl winners. Which one should I save for last? I'm excited for this MVPs one. The Super Bowl winners one is good too, though. I don't know. Champ saying, I didn't like how Cam Newton once said he'd rather keep his MVP than have won a Super Bowl. Yeah, that's fair. I will say, since his playing days ended, he's done a lot to hurt his reputation by opening his mouth, and it's such a shame, dude, because I love him so much. But yeah, he's said some interesting things. He's always on First Take, just yapping about whatever, right? But I don't know. Man, he had a good career though. Who had more fun playing football than Cam Newton, right? That was one of my favorite things about him. Just always having the biggest smile on his face, running around, trucking people, right? Oh, few players have captured my imagination more than Cam Newton. Caden saying, imagine having a dab problem. Couldn't be me. Definitely did not give up dabbing for a full year as my New Year's resolution in 2019. That definitely was not a thing. Like, to the point that someone would have made a promise to not dab. Yeah. Hey, New Year's Eve though, right? As soon as the ball dropped, I hit a mean one. This is true. This is a true story, by the way. This is true doctor lore. Yeah, high school Dr. Pigskin was crazy. Anyways, Jack saying, do MVPs next? Well, your wish is my command. Let's go. All right, I'm fired up for this one. This is MVP seasons, right? So you'll see a few repeats on here. This was exactly what I was hoping for. This is a bracket of MVP seasons. So I am simply picking the better season. I'm not saying, well, who's better all time, Josh Allen or Peyton Manning? Who had the better season? And again, have to imagine this is seeded by recency, right? Yep. Josh Allen is 1, Lamar Jackson is 2. Jack making his prediction that 2011 Rodgers is winning the whole thing. I was thinking about that. I think it's between him and someone else, to be honest. I think it's between him and someone else. There's another challenger here that I see that I've got to take on. Oh, no, it's the first round matchup. Oh, come on. I was hoping it'd be the championship. That's crazy. I honestly think my top 2 picks are the first round or in the first round matchup. That's crazy. Oh, man. All right. Well, you probably know who it is now. You could just look at the screen, but all right. Josh Allen this year versus Peyton Manning 2009. Man, there's been so much hubbub about Josh Allen's MVP, right? I feel like we all are pretty familiar with how he did this year. Was a very, very good player. There are some people that say, oh, Peyton Manning didn't deserve the MVP in 2009 too. I guess this is an interesting one, right? There are some people that was like, oh, it should have been Drew Brees. I know Brett Favre was another contender. Phillip Rivers, actually. Looks like he was third in voting. Something like that. These are just all pros. Let's see if I can pull up the voting here. Yeah, so it's Peyton Manning, Drew Brees. It was Phillip Rivers third, and then Brett Favre fourth. Peyton Manning with half a vote. How does that work? But the Colts had quite the season. Oh, my darn mouse. Driving me crazy. Colts had a crazy season in 2009. I'm so sorry. This mouse is driving me crazy. I'm still moving it right now, and you can see my cursor is not moving. I don't want to get a new mouse and a new keyboard. I just might have to rearrange my setup. I'm moving everything so close right now. I'm kind of tilted a little weird. But anyways, Colts had quite the season, right? They started out 14-0, and then they benched their starters, lost their last 2 games, right? Because they already had the first seed locked up. And Peyton Manning was pretty good. And I will say, 2009 was the first season that I kind of watched football. It was the first season I was fully locked in on the Vikings. I don't think I was really locked in on the league as a whole until 2010. So it's a little bit harder for me to give any analysis besides like looking at Peyton's stats and looking at how well the Colts did. I will say though, honestly, just based off of like looking at that Colts team and stuff and like seeing what happened in the Super Bowl, you could argue Breeze deserved it over Peyton. That's fair. I don't know. That Colts team wasn't all that great, to be honest. They had some good players, but they were banged up a little bit too. This one is tough. Oh, I have to start tournament. Okay. This one is honestly tough. This is a good first round matchup. I feel like these 2 seasons are fairly even, all things considered. Screw it. Give me Josh. Give me Josh. He had a great year. He really did. Give me Josh in round 1. All right, Matt Ryan 2016 or Tom Brady 2017. This is an interesting one, right? Because the year that Matt Ryan won it in 2016, right? No disrespect to Matt Ryan. He had a phenomenal year. He was a phenomenal player that year, right? Cooking in the Kyle Shanahan offense. Low key though. Well, we'll get the double Pro Football Reference pulled up here. Don't mind me creeping on Theo Ash, seeing his career path a little bit earlier. It's like, how do I get to his spot? Let's pull up Tom Brady. I will say, no disrespect, if Tom Brady wasn't suspended in 2016, he would have won MVP. Low-key, 2016 was like one of Brady's best seasons. He was ridiculous that season. But 2017 Brady was pretty good too. I'm going to take Matt Ryan though. Give me 2016 Matt Ryan for this one. That is a very, I don't know if it's like underrated. Especially like I've got so many friends that are Falcons fans, right? Like this Matt Ryan season kind of gets spoken with hushed tones down in Georgia, right? I don't know what the pulse is like for the rest of the world on Matt Ryan's 2016 season. I'll go Matt Ryan though. I'll give it to Matty Ice. Ooh, Aaron Rodgers 2020 or Peyton Manning 2013. I'll go Peyton. This was the year he broke. I mean, he broke a lot of records that year, right? I believe it was both passing yards and passing touchdowns, right? Manning's arm was kind of shot at that point, but he was just cooking people with his mind. He had some crazy receivers. Rodgers was really good in 2020. I would honestly, I guess we'll talk about some more Rodgers MVP seasons. Honestly, I would rank this one probably third out of Aaron Rodgers' 4 MVP seasons. I think 2020 I'd put third. I would take 2011 and 2014 over 2020. And I'd probably put his 2021 last, to be honest. Low-key, Brady deserved it in 2021. Well, look at that. Aaron Rodgers, 2021, his worst MVP season versus a Viking. That's crazy. You could. He was good in 2020. I will give you that. Like, he was very, very good. But I don't know, dude. I mean, come on. If you go look at Peyton Manning, I mean, I don't know. That was definitely one of the best seasons of his career, if not the best season. We got Kira Cat in here too. Let's go. Saying, yeah, Peyton, best QB season ever. Yeah. Broncos Peyton, right? We already had Colts Peyton. Now we've got Broncos Peyton. 2020 had a 121.5 passer rating. I mean, hey, he is the king of passer rating, right? Here's what I'll say, though, because I get to give a little bit more insight on some of these more recent seasons, right? And this is not me. I will say 2020. I think 2020 was the perfect mix between Rodgers and LaFleur. I feel like that was the year that they were the most in sync, and he got Rodgers to run the LaFleur offense, and it was beautiful. I mean, man, they were cooking people out there, and Devontae was nice. I'm going to stick with 2013 Peyton Manning, though. That's it. This is another good first-round matchup, though. We've got some good, close first-round matchups. 2011 is definitely his best. I'm with you there, Jack. But 2020 was pretty good. I think he was definitely better in 2020 than he was in 2021. Not that he was bad in 2021, but 2011 he had a 3-game stretch. His worst passer rating was 140.3. Goodness, yeah. All right, here we go. Well. 2012 Adrian Peterson versus 2021 Aaron Rodgers. Sue me. I'm taking Adrian Peterson. I don't know, man, right? Last non-quarterback to win MVP, 9 yards short of the rushing record, and I cannot stress this enough. You want to talk about like some just unserious teams making the playoffs, dude. I'm sorry. This 2012 Vikings team had no business winning more than like 6 games, right? I mean, they are coming off one of the worst seasons in franchise history. Bro, they had Christian Ponder at quarterback, right? I mean, this even like Percy Harvin, like another good player. He only played 8 games that season? Yeah. This is like Vikings bias, whatever. This is honestly one of the hardest carry jobs I think I've ever seen. And to do it as a running back, that's pretty sick. Like, he straight up did deserve MVP over Peyton that year. I mean, come on. Look at the receivers on this team. We had Michael Jenkins out here getting serious targets, you know? Michael Jenkins, Jarius Wright, Jerome Simpson, and Devin Aromashadu catching passes from Christian Ponder, and we made the playoffs. I mean, especially like in December. He had like 200-yard games in December or something like that. I mean, he really closed the season out strong. This Packers game was win and in, right? If the Vikings won, they made the playoffs. If they lost, they didn't. He got 34 carries in that game. Where is it? Yeah, it was literally 34 carries, 199 yards and a touchdown. And a rare Adrian Peterson receiving touchdown. Let's go. Yeah, no, I'm doing all this to justify. Everyone's like, yeah, that's the right pick. Let's go. Yeah. Look at that. We got a running back on the board. AP deserved it. Jack saying, let's go AP. Yeah. I mean, I was in 6th grade when that season happened. And, dude, I just remember just being utterly shocked when we were winning games because that 2011 team was so bad. I'm like, dude, we're going to suck for the next 5 years. And Peterson got hurt. And it's like, oh, he's going for 200 every game. Let's go. Yeah, that was awesome. All right, here we go, man. As I alluded to earlier. Oh, this is just the way the cookie crumbled, right? Honest to goodness, if I had to seed this based off who I thought was the best, right? Or I guess if I had to rank, I honestly think this would be number one versus number two. Well, I guess I don't know if I'd call this one or two because I haven't made a decision yet. I was fully anticipating this being the championship matchup right here. Here's what I'll say. I probably lean Aaron Rodgers 2011. Probably. A take that I will stand by, though. I honestly think Patrick Mahomes' 2022 season is the best season of his career, right? Over 5,000 passing yards, 41 passing touchdowns. Yes, it not quite as strong as maybe his 2018 season, right? And there's the extra game. Here's what I'll say, though, right? Here's what I'll say, right? When you think about this decline in scoring and passing production, all the hubbub that's been made about it, right? Oh, passing is down, scoring is down. What happened to the game I loved and all that stuff, right? When you look at like league trends and everything, like league-wide passing production, league-wide scoring and everything, that dip really started in 2022, and it got talked about more in 23 and 24 because it's like, okay, this is a trend, like this is really happening now. This has happened for multiple years. It started in 2022. And so in like one of the quote unquote worst league environments for passing and offense, really since I've been watching football, like seriously, like this, like if you adjust for stats inflation or whatever, right? Like the 2022 season is like similar to like 2008, right? This Mahomes season in 2022, last time we've seen a 5,000 yard season, right? And just the way that he changed his game. This was the first year he fully embraced being like a pure pocket passer and like throwing it short over the middle and not just like going bombs away. This was the first season without Tyreek Hill. This was maybe his best season as a scrambler too. Like his rushing yards weren't necessarily crazy, but just when he ran right, he just straight up did not get sacked right. I mean, a sack rate under 3% is just ridiculous, right? Straight up, I think that this season is the best football he's ever played. And honestly, this is like some of the best football I've ever seen anyone play at all. I don't know that I can bring myself to pick him over 2011 Rodgers because I think that might just be straight up like the gold standard of quarterback play. Like that is probably the best season I've ever seen. My take is that this is number two. Oh, this kills me, but I'm going to go 2011 Rodgers over Mahomes. But like if like Mahomes 2022 versus Mahomes 2018 was a matchup, I would take 22 Mahomes. I wouldn't even think about it, to be honest. Not that he wasn't great in 2018, but I think he was just straight up a better player, and what he did in 2022 was more impressive. It's close, but I mean, let's just look at 2011 Rodgers here for a quick sec, just to like, for those that might not be familiar or something, you know. I mean, come on, right? And the crazy thing with that season too, right? Not only did he sit a game, not only did he sit the final week of the regular season because they already had the 1 seed locked up. There were so many games. I remember going back and counting. I think it was like 3 or 4 games where he didn't even play like the entire fourth quarter because they were just blowing out the other team so badly, right? I mean, 4,600 yards on 502 attempts is just ludicrous, right? 45 touchdowns, 6 picks on 500 attempts, you know? And I mean, like, the Packers had some good receivers. It's not like their defense was that great either, right? Like, honestly, this probably shouldn't have been a 15-1 team, right? And I know the playoff exit left a sour taste in some people's mouths, and I get that. But, I mean, as far as stats go, as far as the eye test goes, as far as, like, carrying a team or whatever goes, yeah, this is the gold standard. I mean, he would have easily, no question, if he didn't sit like fourth quarters and if he didn't sit that final game, there's no question he would have got to 5,000 yards. He would have easily gone to 50 touchdowns. He still would have probably had only like 8 picks, and he would have done it on like 550 attempts or something stupid like that. I mean, yeah, that is... It's hard to pick against that, as much as I love Mahomes' 2022 season. But... what a first-round matchup that was. Oh, man, we got another good one on deck here. Let's check up the chat a little bit. Raiders have a bye. Oh, that's tough. Yeah, I readied up. I'll have to ready up again here once we're done here. Jack saying the thing about 2011 Rodgers is that he completely overshadows Tom Brady and Drew Brees' best season as they were all in the same year. Yeah, that's true. Brees went crazy, and Brady had a good year too. But there was there was no debate. I mean, there's no question who was going to win MVP that year, right? And that was a year where passing kind of exploded across the league, right? If you look, like there's a big sharp jump around 2011, and you see a lot of guys kind of having like crazy statistical seasons. But yeah, I mean, that combined with just how, I mean, that is probably his physical peak too. I mean, if you just go and look at like a 2011 Aaron Rodgers mixtape, it's ridiculous. It almost makes you forget about everything else, you know. Pear Champ saying, I still think Mahomes' 2018 year is his best year. I know he became more of a Tom Brady merchant in 2022 with less impressive receivers. Could be my bias, but not wowed by Mahomes personally. I get that, right? Definitely his 2018 season was a lot more fun to watch. There was more fireworks. I will say, I think his 2022 season was kind of a good marriage of that, though. It wasn't like 23 or 24 where he has become like 2019 Tom Brady, where it's like only short stuff, and it's impressive and it's hard to do, and like it's kind of out of necessity. I honestly think there was still some exciting explosive plays in 2022. Though you think about the hook shot touchdown he hit. I can't remember what team it was. You think about his crazy spin move, like shovel pass that he hit against the Buccaneers on Sunday Night Football. There was a few deep balls he hit there, right? I don't know. He had some crazy plays in 2022 as well. I still think that is the gold standard of his career, but 2018 was pretty. I mean, 2018 he had the no look pass, the OG no look pass, all the deep balls. It's hard to go wrong with either of those. Yeah, we got Lovato. Let's go. Welcome to the stream, Lovato, saying, just wanted to say, go Vikings. Great offseason so far. Sorry, back to the topic of the video. Hey, no, don't worry about it. We will always stop what we're doing for a nice little go Vikings. And yeah, we were talking about the free agency run for the Vikings a little bit earlier. Liking the moves on the offensive line. Defensive line is nice to see us get addressed to. I'd give the Vikings like a solid B plus A minus. I am pretty pleased with how the Vikings have done. And Game Solved is in here. Let's go. Saying 2009 Jamarcus Russell versus 2015 Johnny Manziel. Coffee and Baby versus Coffee and Baby. What is a Tom Brady merchant? What I think he means is like just like very late Patriots Tom Brady-esque, where it's like another 4-yard pass to Rex Burkhead, you know, another 5-yard pass to Danny Amendola, or like these Shane Vereen checkdowns and stuff. But man, they couldn't stop him, and he was good at it. He was good at getting that ball out quick. But man, that one killed me though. I wanted to see Mahomes 2022 in the final, but here's another interesting one. Rodgers 2014 versus Lamar Jackson 2019. Oh, I feel like these are two really underrated MVP seasons. And I guess Lamar's 2019 still gets talked about a decent amount, right? Oh, I think Rodgers' 2014 season is really, really underrated. Like, I think this 2014 Packers team was significantly worse than the 2011 Packers team. And this was the year of relax, right? And he and the Packers got off to slightly bit of a slower start this season, but they just turned it on second half of the season, right? I mean, man, they were, I think especially about this Bears game on Sunday Night Football, right? It was 42-0 at halftime, and Rodgers had 6 touchdowns at halftime, and then they pulled him after like one drive in the third quarter. It's like, boo. We wanted to see him go for like 10, you know? Man, I gotta say, he was pretty nice in 2014. Him versus 2019 Lamar is kind of a tough one. Because Lamar was, I mean, you want to talk about an efficient passing season, right? 2019 Lamar, 36 touchdowns. 3,000 yards isn't crazy, but 401 attempts, right? And then you have to look at the rushing numbers with Lamar too, right? Was it 1,200 rushing yards, if we can find it here somewhere? Yeah, 1,200 rushing yards and 7 rushing touchdowns. And overall, the Ravens team was really good. Like, they had a pretty good offensive line. They had a pretty good defense. It's not like they had a stellar receiving core, and this was a Greg Roman offense after all. And he's another guy. He sat the final game of the regular season. Screw it. I might actually go Lamar. I might actually go Lamar 19 over Rodgers 14. That's crazy, though, because I said this was like Rodgers' second best MVP season, right? I'm going to go Lamar, though. Pear Champ saying there's a decent amount of people that thought J.J. Watt should have got the 2014 MVP. Oh, and I get that, right? I think if it was like the Heisman, where it was the most outstanding player, I would have certainly been like, yeah, it should be Watt, right? Like Watt was probably a little bit of a better player that year, just because everything he did. I mean, like 20 plus sacks, however many touchdowns he had on both offense and defense, all the passes batted down. I will say though, like, and this is the problem with MVP, right? And I hate saying this, but it is true. Like straight up though, like let's be honest, who was the more valuable player, right? J.J. Watt did all that, and Houston didn't even make the playoffs. That is kind of the harsh reality of the award a little bit. But Watt, I mean, if it was just like best season, yeah, I'd say Watt over Rodgers. But Pear Champ rocking with the Lamar over Rodgers, yeah, it's a tough one, but I don't know. I feel good about that. All right, Mahomes 18 versus Cam 15. Oh, low key, these are like two of my favorite seasons ever, right? I was hoping I'd get to pick Cam's 2015 at least once, but I can't. I can't, dude. I mean, yeah, this is another one of those like all-timer seasons right here. Mahomes 2018. Last one. Oh, this is a good one. Tom Brady 2010 or Lamar 2023. Now, here's what I'll say. I don't think that Lamar's 2023 was like undeserved or whatever, right? There's a lot of like, oh, he didn't deserve it. He wasn't actually that good. Maybe his pure counting stats weren't the greatest. But again, very efficient season, offered a lot as a runner, showed up in all the biggest games. And it's not like it was a crazy field overall for like who would have been MVP. Like it was between him and Josh. You could have made a great case for Josh. But fair or not, like I get like, okay, there were a few games where Josh kind of had a meltdown. A couple of those happened in prime time, and he led the NFL in turnovers. So I get it a little bit, right? Tom Brady, you want to talk about another underrated season. Honestly, Tom Brady's 2011, he had, I think this record has been snapped at this point, but he had the record for most consecutive passes without an interception. Yeah, 36-4, right? I know touchdown to interception ratio can be just like a simple stat, right? And you look at like, oh, he didn't even hit 4,000 passing yards, but this was a pretty run heavy Patriots offense, right? Less than 500 passing attempts. And again, I mean, this maybe I'm a little biased towards 2010 because again, this was like the first year where I was watching like other teams beyond the Vikings too. If you wanted to say like if I had to pick Brady's best three seasons, I'd probably say 2007 is number one. 2016 is probably number two. 2010 might be number three. I don't know. He was pretty locked in that year. He was like the consensus best QB in the league that year. I'm going to say Brady fairly easily, I would say. All right. That first round took a minute, but we had some good conversations. Now I feel like that we've got the table set for these seasons. Now we've got a good idea of like, okay, what are these seasons exactly? We can get moving here. But we've got the Elite Eight set now. Allen versus Ryan. Screw it. I'm going to say Matt Ryan. Matt Ryan to the Final Four. That was a tough one. Part of me thought about going Josh there. I don't know. That Falcons offense was just so good, though. I mean, they were lighting everyone on fire. And Ryan, like, it wasn't just like, oh, Matt Ryan's getting carried by Kyle Shanahan and Julio Jones. Like, he did play some seriously impressive football. Oh, that one's tough, but I think better season. I'll give it to Matt Ryan. Peyton Manning 2013, Adrian Peterson 2012. I know I'm not going to do it. I'm seriously considering going Peterson here. But that would be crazy, right? I can't see my biggest logic behind this is like it's just an insane carry job, right? And maybe I'm overrating the carry job a little bit too much. But he was also 9 yards short of breaking a record that still to this day hasn't been broken, right? And he's just not on a very good team. People preferring Josh Allen over Matt Ryan. I get it. I don't know. You could talk me into it, but I don't know. I'm kind of torn up about this one, right? And Peyton was very good, and it was even hard for me to pick him over 2020 Rodgers, right? But this Broncos team was just so good. If AP got 10 more yards, it could have been a debate. See, that it should come down to that, though, right? Like, just because he has to clear the arbitrary 10-yard mark. It's Peyton for sure. I'm going to go Peyton. My take is it's Peyton, not for sure, though. I had to take a minute to think about it. I'll go Peyton, though. That is probably fair. Yeah, I think Peterson going to the Final Four might have been a bit much, but. All right, Rodgers 2011 versus Lamar 2019 puts up a good fight, but yeah, I think your prediction might be correct, Jack. I think I might agree with you. Mahomes 2018 versus Brady 2010. Another one where honestly, I think Brady's 2010 would put up a good fight, but yeah, I'll go Mahomes. Final four is set now. All right. I feel like the two favorites are in the lower part right here, right out of this final four. We've got Matt Ryan 2016, Peyton Manning 2013. I'll go Peyton, yeah. And then kind of a tough one. I am going to go Rodgers, though. I mean, I'll just, like, straight up Rodgers is going to win this, right? Yeah, I feel like that is probably the best season of football, at least from a quarterback that I've seen in my life. I think overall best season that I've seen in my life would be another Aaron. I would say, like, if there was a bracket of, like, best season, period, give me 2018 Aaron Donald, dude. I mean, leading the league in both sacks and tackles for loss as a defensive tackle is just disgusting. And he kind of carried that Rams defense, too. It's not like that Rams defense was bad. They had a few other good players, right? But, I mean, this might be the single most impressive season I've seen in my life was 2018 Aaron Donald. If there was a bracket for that, I think I would have Donald winning that one. But that was a good one. I like that one. That was a good one. Lived up to the expectations, that's for sure. I liked the individual seasons, and I appreciate that touch. So thank you for following through with my request there. Caden saying he loves hearing it. All right, one more to go here. Super Bowl winners. This one's interesting too. Best Super Bowl winners. All right, again, got the classic just seeded by when it happened, right? We've got the last 16 Super Bowl winners. So it goes back to 2009. Well, I guess it happened in 2010. You know what I mean, right? But this is the final one we'll do here before we wrap up. Best Super Bowl winners. Round one, we've got... you got me again. Round one. We've got this year's Eagles versus the totally legit and totally deserving... I'm not going to be too salty. We have the Eagles versus the Saints. And the Saints... definitely didn't do anything wrong to get there. Jack saying, I don't even think I need to say who my pick is. Oh, overall, yeah. Hey, honestly, I think they've got a shot in this one. I really do. That is one of my favorite teams of all time, if we're thinking of the same team here. See, here's what I'll say. I am pretty torn up about this one because honestly, this Saints team was pretty good. It was. And I can sit here and cry all I want about what happened 15 years ago, right? But also, like, that was a very, very good team. I mean, they had elite quarterback. They had great coaching. Their offensive line was strong. They had a deep receiving core. And honestly, that defense was pretty good. They got takeaways, and they got after the quarterback. Like, you think of a lot of the Drew Brees, Sean Payton Saints teams of having bad defenses. But that 2010 Saints team, or 2009, sorry, was a very strong team overall. And they won 13 games, right? They're another team. They and the Colts both started out on like crazy win streaks, and it's like, oh, are they going to be undefeated or not? I think they started out 12-0 maybe. They started out 13-0, and then they lost their last three, and I think they started sitting guys at some point, right? And they were frying guys in the playoffs too. Well, they fried one team in the playoffs. They were frying guys in the regular season. This is honestly like a very underrated team. I know they're like 20th in points against, but they had better than the 20th best defense in the NFL, you know. Let's pull up the 2024 Eagles here too. I might lean Eagles just because that defense was so ridiculous. And I mean, overall, I mean, this was a pretty loaded team, right? Both are 3-loss teams, but the Eagles did it with one extra game, right? So their win percentage is a little bit better. I think I will go Eagles. I mean, I would say the Saints had the better quarterback, but everything else I think the Eagles were better at. Yeah, I mean, better running back, better line. I would say better receivers and better defense. Yeah, I will go Eagles here. Let's go. I didn't have to pick this. I didn't have to pick the 2009 Saints. Let's go. No disrespect. You know, that was a long time ago, and like every single figure from that organization is no longer there. But there's still a small part of me. It's like, nah, come on. You know me. 25 Eagles is one of the best teams I've ever seen. I would have to agree with you, especially with hindsight now. I mean, again, like, it's just so funny, right? They're without A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith for a little bit. They lose a weird one to the Falcons, and then they get stomped by the Buccaneers. And I just remember Twitter having a meltdown when Nick Sirianni cut his hair, right? Because everyone hates Nick Sirianni. And literally just because he cut his hair, everyone's like, oh my gosh, he's getting fired because he's so bad and evil, you know? And then they lost one game the rest of the season. I mean, and that was a game where Jalen Hurts was injured, you know? I mean, Jalen Hurts getting injured is not the only reason they lost this game, right? The Commanders, at least in this game, did kind of figure out the Philly defense. And then, of course, they got their lick back a little bit. But, I mean, there is a very real possibility where if Jalen Hurts didn't get injured in this game, they go 15-2, you know, and they don't lose a game the rest of the way after September 29th. Yeah, this was a pretty insane team. The fact that they weren't a 1 seed. I know, right? And that's the other thing, right? Like, the Lions were so good throughout most of the regular season before they got banged up. And it's like the Lions were everyone's consensus number 1 team in the conference. And the Chiefs had their undefeated streak going, and they were going for a three-peat. So for most of the season, like, the Eagles were kind of seen as like the third best team at best, you know? There was a lot of people that thought like maybe I say a lot of people. I thought maybe the Eagles would like play a bad game in the playoffs and exit early, you know. But yeah, I mean, overall, knowing what we know, yeah, the probably top 5 team I've seen in my life, honestly. So yeah, they might make a pretty deep run here. Good question from Pearchamp. What would be my top 5 MVP seasons? He would go 2011 Rodgers, 2013 Manning, 2007 Brady, 2018 Mahomes, and 2020 Rodgers. All right, well, I'm going to try and stick within that sort of time frame, right, of like when I was football conscious. I'll say, and I know we just talked about these guys, but I'll say from 2009 onward, right? Otherwise, I probably would throw like 2007 Brady in there, or like 1984 Marino, right? So I can give like a decent, honest take. I'll do in my life. I will say 2011 Rodgers. Screw it. I'm gonna say 2022 Mahomes at 2. I am 3. Ooh, shoot, that's tough. I'd have to go back and look at the bracket now. 3. I'll say 2018 Mahomes for 3. I will say 2019 Lamar maybe for 4, and then 2014 Rodgers for 5, just off the top of my head. But I know that was like a spicy take, right? Having 2022 Mahomes at 2, but I don't know. That season just holds a special place in my heart. But Pearchamp says the Eagles were one Saquon catch away from beating the Falcons. To be fair, Saquon should have had it. Oh, absolutely, right? I mean, yeah, that's easy. He dropped the ball. Like, I stand by that was the right call. Saquon just dropped it. So yeah. Jack says he thinks Rodgers has a top 2 seasons. I don't hate that. I have 2 Rodgers seasons in my top 5 too. Michael saying I'm going with the Bulldogs. I mean, Eagles here. The Philly Bulldogs. Oh, so epic. All right. 2017 Patriots versus the 2018 Eagles. Okay, so I guess this Patriots team, right? That would have been the infamous 28-3 team, right? Honestly, this team might go pretty far too. This team was kind of loaded, and they were without Tom Brady for the first 4 games of the season. They had the GOAT Jacoby Brissett out there for a little bit. This Eagles team was pretty good. I think they are certainly not as good as the 2024 Eagles. I know, like, if you ask a lot of Eagles fans I've seen on Twitter and stuff, like, this 2017 team was maybe a little bit more magical, and it was their first Super Bowl too, and they had the crazy run with Nick Foles, and the Super Bowl was such a tight game, and the divisional round was such a tight game, and the conference championship happened. But and it's funny because they were a 3-loss team too. But I think like if the 2017 team played the 2024 team, the 2024 team would win, right? I would probably lean 2016 Patriots. I mean, yeah, they went 14-2. This team was ridiculous. 3rd in points for, 1st in points against. And again, I mean, if you just look at Brady's season, I mean, he was ridiculous that year, right? Again, missed 4 games, but 28 touchdowns, 2 picks, completion percentage above 67%, passer rating looking pretty strong, right? I mean, man, they had a pretty deep offense. Like their rushing game was pretty good. Their receiver room wasn't crazy, but it worked. I mean, that's what's crazy. They had like what, half a season of Gronk, right? I mean, this team could have been even better, and this defense was nice. This defense was pretty nice. Obviously, they had Bill scheming things up too. I am going to go with this Patriots team, and of course, the aura of 28-3 kind of carries a little bit too. But low key, this is an interesting matchup. I actually might have to think about this one. I know I said the Eagles might go far. I don't know. This one might be a tough one. But Michael saying both seasons without training camp is Aaron Rodgers a no training camp merchant. That's right. Because the lockout and then COVID. You're right. Yeah. And I do think, like, if you look at both the 2011 and the 2020 seasons, I mean, points and scoring and passing and everything were at just crazy levels, not just in that era, but specifically those 2 years. And I think, like, yeah, no training camp, stuff like that probably played a role, at least a little bit. No training camp merchant. We have a new Aaron Rodgers diss. Rodgers is the most talented QB I've ever seen. Honestly, it's not close. I mean, I think Mahomes you could make a case for, right? I think it's probably between those two. Josh is up there. I would say Rodgers and Mahomes. I don't know. How quickly we forget. I get like the Chiefs haven't been quite as interesting or fun recently, right? And especially like the brand of offense they play. I don't know. How quickly we forget. I don't know. I might say Mahomes. That's close though. If you want to say Rodgers, I have no issue with that. All right, 2020 Bucks. So we have got the Brady Bucks versus the Legion of Boom Seahawks. I am probably going to go LOB here. And that Bucks team was pretty good, right? I mean, it's crazy because they didn't even win their division. But because the Saints were pretty good that year too. But you knew, like, I mean, this team was kind of hastily assembled, right? They had just so many new guys coming in. And it was Brady's first year. And again, it was weird because there's no training camp or OTAs or anything because of COVID and all that. But you knew, like, if this team got in the playoffs, like, they could definitely go all the way. They had a good defense that year too. That's kind of an underrated aspect of them. I guess we saw it on full display in the Super Bowl, but pass rush was great. Well coached with Todd Bowles as the defensive coordinator. But I mean, if you look at especially like how they closed out the season, once they got Antonio Brown on the team, this was probably the best offense in the NFL. This was a very, very good team. I mean, man, like, I remember like watching these games and be like, oh crap, like this team might be ready to go on a run. And look, like the Commanders, or I guess the football team at the time, kind of gave them some trouble in the first round, but they had to go through Breeze and Peyton's Saints. They had to go through Rodgers, Packers, and Lambeau, and then the Reed, Mahomes, Chiefs. A very, very impressive team. Very, very impressive season. But this is one of my all-time favorite teams right here. I mean, this is probably the best defense I've seen in my life. Prime Marshawn Lynch, Russell Wilson in his peak dangerous form, right? Maybe not the best season of Russell Wilson's career, but he was very good playing this role of like, and I say this like wholeheartedly, like this was an important thing for him to do. He was an explosive game manager, right? Like it's not like they put a lot on his plate, but his scrambling, his ability to just buy time and then chuck it downfield to like Doug Baldwin. I mean, yeah, this was such a sick team, dude. I could see this team going all the way in this bracket. I feel pretty good about that pick. How about the pull from Michael? There was, yeah, the points pandemic theory. You know, one of these days, I think I'll unprivate those videos. I'll open up the archives a little bit. For right now, we've got to maintain some strong branding here. But one of these days, we'll open up the archive. That is a crazy pull, though. I feel like not a lot of people, even those that were watching back in the days of Necessary Roughness, remember that video. That is respect to you, man. That's awesome. I am shocked that you remember that. That is awesome. That is a Wells Report level poll right there. Yeah, the points pandemic theory. That's crazy. I believe that was the first ever custom thumbnail I made too. It was in Canva. It was so bad. but I tried, and I got better. But Yeah, man, what a pull right there. I'm going to be thinking about that for the rest of the night now. That is unbelievable. Rodgers made every throw look effortless. I mean, oh, just the way he could flick his wrist and it would go 50 yards, right? And he's another guy like just off platform, on the move, all that fun stuff. I mean, yeah, there is not a single throw he can't make. Jack saying the thing about the 2013 Hawks is I would say they probably had the toughest opponents out of all the teams, and the way just they just mutilated him. Yeah, I mean, yeah, right. It was the highest scoring offense ever. Mister Final Four MVP season, Peyton Manning. They didn't stand a chance. I mean, the game was over at halftime. Yeah, yeah. I didn't even talk about like how crazy the Super Bowl run was for the Seahawks beyond just how good they were in the regular season and like how good their roster was. But yeah, I mean them and the Eagles have had like the two signature Super Bowl blowouts, but I feel like that Broncos team is just a little bit better than that Chiefs team. So, yeah. All right. 2012 Ravens versus the 2021 Rams. This Ravens team was fun. And I hate saying this, right, because they won the Super Bowl, and this is not to take away from what they did, right? Like, if you're a Ravens fan, who cares? And honestly, like, I loved watching this Ravens playoff run, right? Think about the Mile High Miracle. You think about, like, Ray Lewis being like, this is my last ride, right? Going out a Super Bowl champion. That being said, they are definitely one of the weakest Super Bowl champs I think we've ever seen. And I don't need any more of an excuse to pick the Rams, but yeah. Uh, that Rams 21 team was pretty underrated. Again, they're another team, and I think a big reason why I like this team so much. I don't know. I just get to pat myself on the back here a little bit because Lord knows I'm wrong plenty of times, right? But I remember like back when it first got announced that Stafford got traded to the Rams, I'm like, dude, honestly, they might win the Super Bowl with him. And they were my preseason pick to win the Super Bowl. When I filled out my bracket for the playoffs before the playoffs started, I was like, they're still winning the Super Bowl, right? They had a slight up and down regular season. They got off to such a crazy start, right? 7-1. They had the first Sunday night football game of the year against the Bears. Stafford is going crazy. They had that crazy cup game against the Colts that I talked about last week, right? This Bucks game was hyped up too, right? And they won that one. I mean, they got off to a really hot start. Then they got banged up a little bit. They had to shuffle things around. They traded for Von Miller midseason. They lost Robert Woods and brought in Odell, right? All that stuff. I mean, they went on a losing streak, dropped to 7-4. Stafford was throwing some picks. It's like, I don't know, right? But you just knew, like, this team was just a little bit too good. They're just a little bit too well coached. Like, man, if they could just figure things out a little bit, look out, right? And man, things just started to click. They closed out the season strong. And I don't know, you could just feel like this team had a run in them. This is a very, very good team. High level quarterback play. Shout out the GOAT, right? Cooper Kupp triple crown, right? They made it work with a rotation of Woods and Higbee and Odell, right? I believe Sony Michel didn't quite go for 1,000 yards, but they had a solid running game too. And then, I mean, the defense, it was a little top heavy, but Aaron Donald and Jalen Ramsey is one heck of a top. 12-5, went through a tough path to get to the Super Bowl. Low-key loaded coaching staff too. Sean McVay, KOC, Raheem Morris, Zach Robinson, Ejiro Evero, Chris Shula, Wes Phillips, Tom. This is an insane coaching staff. Yeah. Come on. Bang. Michael's saying the Wells Report poll is on an astronomically different level. I am pretty proud of myself for that one. I won't lie. When Gabe finished reading that question, I was like, dude, that's crazy. I actually know this one. I was pretty fired up for that. Shout out Ted Wells, the NFL investigator. The Wells Report. Jack says if the 2013 49ers went to the Super Bowl, they would have been talked up as an all-time great team. Oh man, yeah, some of those Harbaugh Niners teams, they were pretty stacked. Yeah. Man, some great defenses. Michael saying I'd give the edge to Cooper Kupp. I mean the Rams, Eli Apple. Yeah. All right. We are halfway through the Sweet 16 here. We've got the 2022 Chiefs versus the 2011 Giants. Again, I hate to say this, right? Because as far as just like fun goes and entertainment value, right? Honestly, this 2011 Giants run was pretty awesome, right? And they beat the big bad Patriots. They also beat the big bad Packers. That was big for 10-year-old me, right? I was like, oh, oh, Aaron Rodgers' best season ever, and they go one and done in the playoffs, right? I mean, I was a real hater, you know. That being said, they had a negative point differential, you know. They are a little bit of a power friendship team. They were a good team, right? I mean, they had some good receivers. They had Akeem Nicks and Victor Cruz. Ahmad Bradshaw was kind of nice. The pass rush was pretty good with Jason Pierre-Paul and Justin Tuck. They had Corey Webster. Nice little pull right there, right? And Eli Manning honestly had a pretty good season that year, right? Like, it's not like this team was bad. It's not like, no disrespect to my own team, it's not like the 2022 Vikings. Well, maybe a little bit. Yeah, because it's not like the 2022 Vikings had all bums on the team, you know. But this was very much a case of a team getting hot at the right time and getting some bounces to go their way, right? You think about that conference championship game. I mean, Kyle Williams, the return man, right? With the muffs and everything. Yeah. I mean, they had about every bounce go their way. But again, nothing can take away from that, but yeah, they did have a negative point differential. They were -6. So, and this Chiefs team, again, the 2022 Chiefs team, right? Oh, Patrick Mahomes, you know, that was the great Mahomes year. And their defense wasn't quite as strong as it was in 2023 when they won their second in a row. But, you know, Trent McDuffie missed half the season, and once he came back and they got a little bit healthier, like the defense did kind of lock in second half of the season for that Chiefs team too, right? Let's just pull them up here. We'll be fair. We'll pull them up here. Because again, there's so many Chiefs teams to sort through, right? I mean, 14-3, right? I mean, this was a very good team, and they beat a very good Eagles team in the Super Bowl too. They had a nice little win streak. I mean, they lost one game after their bye, is it? Yeah. And again, like their defense really turned it on. They were pretty young on defense, but once they got healthy, they really turned it on. I feel pretty good about that pick. All right, 2014 Patriots versus 2019 Chiefs. This is a tough one, too. That 2014 Patriots team was pretty good, right? That was the year they had Darrelle Revis. That was the year it was like, oh, they finally won it all again, right? It had been like 10 years. The Malcolm Butler Super Bowl. Was it 2020 or I guess 2019 Chiefs, right? It's not that this Chiefs team was weak. They were pretty good, but compared to some of the other teams, I know they like their defense ranked pretty highly. I guess they were pretty good. I don't know what I'm saying. Mahomes was injured for a little bit this year too, but to me this is like the defining game of that Chiefs team, right? Being down 24-0 in the first quarter, coming back and taking the lead by halftime was pretty crazy. This team was pretty loaded. Oh, 2014 Patriots, though. Screw it. I am going to go the 2019 Chiefs, actually. I will. That was a pretty good team. They had Chris Jones. They had Tyrann Mathieu, right? Obviously, they had the trio of Mahomes, Kelsey, and Tyreek. That one's close. I'll give it to the Chiefs. They would have probably had a slightly better record if Mahomes was healthy too, right? I know they won a decent amount of games even when Mahomes was hurt. And he didn't miss a ton of games, but like, okay, they probably win this Packers game, right, if Mahomes is healthy. Somehow Matt Moore beat the Vikings that year. I remember crashing out after that game a little bit, but yeah. I'll give the slight edge to the 2019 Chiefs there. Michael saying the 2011 Giants had a lot of magic fourth quarters. Yeah, Eli Manning had the record for like most fourth quarter touchdown passes in the season or something like that, right? They would just like screw around for three quarters and then just go crazy in the fourth quarter. I mean, I guess it really was 2022 Vikings-esque. And I remember that being like my go-to. Like, well, you know, everyone's talking about our point differential. We've seen a team with a negative point differential win the Super Bowl. It's like, okay, well, maybe that happens every 100 years instead of every 10. Michael saying also, if the Saints beat the San Francisco 49ers that year, the Giants get annihilated. Yeah, probably. I mean, yeah. I mean, it just came down to like Kyle Williams not dropping the ball, you know. But hey, the Giants took advantage. All right, we're almost done with the Sweet 16 here. 2018 Patriots versus 2015 Broncos. Oh, so this was the no-fly zone Broncos, right? It's not like Peyton was honestly pretty bad that season, if anything, right? He got benched for Brock Osweiler. Osweiler came in, had some pretty good moments for him, though. He honestly played all right. And they still had some good receivers and everything. But it was such a weird up and down year. I mean, they were winning games, but Peyton was not looking good, and they still just they had to bench him, right? But then he came back in and he made it work. He was a good game manager for them, right? And it is crazy to think for how bad he was. I mean, 17 picks in 9 starts. Come on, bro, right? That's pretty bad. He was pretty bad. But shout out one of my old videos, right? Good quarterback is not all you need. You can win without a good quarterback, right? I mean, he was probably one of the 5 worst quarterbacks in the league that year, right? I think behind the Legion of Boom Seahawks, this is probably second or third best defense I've seen in my life, honestly. This Broncos no-fly zone defense. I mean, Chris Harris Jr., Aqib Talib, you've got DeMarcus Ware, you've got Von Miller. Good night. The linebackers are pretty good, right? Danny Trevathan, I believe Brandon Marshall, yeah. Malik Jackson, that's another name. That Patriots defense was pretty good, though. They were. I feel like this is an interesting case of 2 teams with great quarterbacks, but their offenses weren't quite as strong as you might think. And again, like this 2018 Patriots team was pretty good, but again, they kind of had an up and down year too. There were some questions of whether or not they'd be able to make a run. Like especially around this mark right here, after like the Miami Miracle and then an ugly loss to the Steelers, it's like, oh, it might finally be over for them. They were able to get one more year though, right? I mean, yeah, they dismantled the Chargers. That Chiefs conference championship game was legendary. I will say that was honestly one of the most fun games I've ever watched. And then the Super Bowl was boring, but Bill cooked. I mean, he cooked with his game plan, right? They shut down the McVay offense. They like sent McVay into a coma for like a year, right? This is a nice little defensive battle. Defensive battle with 2 all-time great quarterbacks. Obviously, Brady was a little bit better. Okay, so I guess the good question, because I feel like this one's pretty close, right? Who would win if these 2 teams played? Who would win? I'll go Patriots. Oh, I don't feel great about that, though. I'll go Patriots. But, yeah, Peyton was pretty bad. Yeah. Patriots defense was so good. Yeah, the Super Bowl was pretty, yeah. I mean, that was a bit of a snoozer, right? Everyone just kept waiting for something to happen. 2 very good defenses. Yeah. Oh, Jack might went Denver there. I think their defense is a little bit better, but I think the Patriots offense was a little bit better. It is close, though. And I just feel like, I don't know. I feel like Bill would have had senile Peyton Manning in the torture chamber if these 2 teams played, That'll be the difference. Bill would not have shown any mercy on Peyton. They might have got a few picks on him. All right. Last one of the Sweet 16. We've got the 2010 Packers versus the 2023 Chiefs. So this Packers team was very good, right? They were a little injured. They also they kind of snuck into the playoffs a little bit, right? They were the first ever 6 seed to win a Super Bowl. But a lot of it was like they were just really injured. This team was really not at full strength. And they were just another team. It's like, man, if they get hot, And Rodgers played out of his mind in this playoff run. And they played a pretty good Steelers team in the Super Bowl. This was a very underrated Super Bowl, honestly. The Packers-Steelers Super Bowl. That was a pretty good game. That was one of the first Super Bowls I remember watching. This game was kind of ugly, but they found a way to win. And I remember them just killing the Falcons, dude. I was so in on the Falcons that year. I love that Falcons team so much. It made me so sad watching them beat down on the Falcons like that. Can't see the Broncos are really just the Raiders, yeah. Nice little. I'm sure they had 6 X factors on their defense. Michael liked Super Bowl 53. I get it. I can respect like the good defense, I will say. Maybe a little bit too much even for me, but I can respect that. Peyton's corpse was dragged to the finish line. Yeah, this was a pretty good Packers team. Who are they going against? The 2023 Chiefs. I will say, and this Chiefs team had a pretty good defense. Their offense was all right, and a lot of it was just like Mahomes getting sold by his receivers and stuff. This is one team where it's like, man, honestly, how did they win the Super Bowl? Looking back, and they just find a way, right? And they had to go through a tough field too, right? I mean, playing the Bills. This was in Buffalo too, right? Yeah, they had to go on the road versus the Bills and the Ravens. Pro Football Reference has it wrong here, unless they just don't have it labeled like home and away. I guess not, but Dolphins, whatever, in like freezing cold temperatures. But beating the Bills on the road and the Ravens on the road, I mean, they went through three really strong teams this year. It's not like it was a fluke or anything, but it was just like, how did they do that, honestly? How, how did they do that? I don't know. The more I look at it, it's like, man, they really got away with it winning it all that year. They were definitely one of the best teams. You could argue, I hate saying this, like, oh, well, the Ravens were the better team because they did beat them, but I don't know. You know what I'm saying? This is definitely not one of the stronger Chiefs teams, but it's funny because they did end up winning the Super Bowl. And this was one of the weaker, like Aaron Rodgers Packers teams, too. And this was the team that ended up winning it all. I'll go the Chiefs. They're just a little bit stronger. A little bit. But all right. Elite Eight is set. Christine's saying the Falcons, impossible. Hey, I like the Falcons, right? I've always liked the Falcons. That 2010 Falcons team, I've always had a soft spot for, right? I had a few Falcons on my fantasy team that year. That was the first season I played fantasy football. Oh, I can't remember when this was. This would have been a few months ago. But I gave this nice long speech about how one of my favorite Thursday night games was this random Thursday night game between the Falcons and the Ravens. I'll have to see if I can pull it up or something. I think it was Henry that asked me, right? I just have a lot of good memories with that Falcons team. They're a really fun team. Young Matt Ryan, Roddy White, Michael Turner, Tony Gonzalez, John Abraham, right? I've always liked the Falcons. I'm telling you, I need to get some more Falcons merch and like show some support a little bit more. I consider them my second favorite team at this point, right? They'll never top the Vikings, of course, but that's true. I do have the Bucks merch, right? They are going to be the team of Dr. Pigskin 2025. It's so funny. Like, honestly, I would say 3 out of the 4 teams in the NFC South I really like. I really like the Bucks. I really like the Falcons, and I really like the Panthers. I don't know. I'm an NFC South enjoyer, I guess. But speaking of the Bucks, welcome Ryan Asti. Good to have you back in here. Saying, oh, but 2022 Bucks all the way. Dude, I know that was a tough call to make, right? That was just the way the bracket fell. Not necessarily seeded by strength, right? This is just seeded chronologically. So it's like, most recent was the 1 seed and so on and so forth, right? The Bucks had a tough draw with the Legion of Boom Seahawks, man. They really did. I feel like if you would have pitted them up against a few of these other teams, they would have maybe won a round or two. They had a crazy run. I was actually talking about that, their crazy playoff run, but man, Legion of Boom Seahawks, that was a tough first round draw. But ranking the Super Bowl winning team. Oh, there we go. I see what you're saying. Kira hates the 2023 Chiefs for definitely unbiased reasons. No, I get that, dude. I mean, being like a rival of the Chiefs that year must have been infuriating. It's like, dude, how are they doing this, Man, and if they would have won it again this year, like, yeah, I could see how that would be infuriating. But, all right, as we've said, we've got the table set. Here we go. Got the Elite Eight. We've got this year's Eagles versus the 2016 Patriots. As I was saying earlier, honestly, this is kind of a tough one. I am tempted to say the Patriots, honestly. Nah, this Eagles team was just a little bit deeper, I think. Again, the Patriots maybe just weren't quite as strong with their pass catchers. If Gronk was fully healthy, I think I honestly might have picked the Patriots. That honestly might be the biggest difference. I think if I knew I'd have a fully healthy Gronk, I might go with this Patriots team. And the Patriots certainly have the advantage at quarterback, but everywhere else, man, like both defenses are great. I think the Eagles defense is a little bit better. Both running games are great. Eagles running games better, And you'd say like, okay, Belichick over Sirianni. I'm going to go Eagles though. I don't know. That was a tough one though. That 2016 Patriots team was really good. It's simple, really. Robert Turbin. There's a pull right there. Robert Turbin. How about Thomas Rawls? I remember when he went stupid against the Vikings back in 2015. I was convinced for like a few months that Thomas Rawls was going to be the next great Pro Bowl running back. Ryan Aske's saying, if anyways he has to drive, if I'm still streaming when he gets back home, we'll see me then. Appreciate it. Hey, thanks for tuning in. Let's go. Hashtag go Bucks. I love it. It's simple. Tom Brady. All right. Seahawks versus Rams. Oh, I'm sorry, Rams. It's got to be the Seahawks, though. Again, I think, oh, what a matchup we've got in the Final Four. 2024 Eagles versus the Legion of Boom Seahawks. Oh, that's a good one. That'll be a good one for the Final Four. We have a Chiefs off right here. Chris Carson had some nice years too. He really did. He had a few 1,000-yard seasons, and then he had a shock early retirement. Yeah, he was a good back. Seahawks were like a power back factory for a little bit, right? Just Christine Michael, remember him? That was another guy. Just like they just had like some of the most sculpted running backs you'd ever see. And it's like they've got like 4 just massive power backs on their roster. All right, Chiefs off right here. 2020. So, like 2023 is when the Chiefs won the Super Bowl, but this is the Chiefs of the 2022 season versus the Chiefs of the 2019 season. I'm going to say the 2022-2023 Chiefs. I really am, dude. I think that might have been the best Chiefs team of this Mahomes-Reed era, right? I mean, I went on for like 8 minutes about how great Mahomes was that year, but the defense really turned it on, right? Oh, that was a pretty good team. They had a pretty good offensive line that year. Low-key, they might make the final. 2018 Patriots versus the 2023 Chiefs. I'm gonna lean Patriots here. All right, here we go. Final Four is set. Jack saying there's only 3 teams since 2000 I could see an argument for over the 2013 Hawks, and the 24 Eagles are the only one on the list. Yeah, this is a heck of a matchup right here. I think winner of this one is probably going to win the whole thing. I'm going to go Seahawks. I am. These are 2 not only very even teams, but very similar. Like, I think they are very similarly built too. I just think the Seattle defense is just a little bit better. I think Russ is just a little bit better than Jalen Hurts. You could say Saquon's better than Lynch. Okay, I'll give you that. I think that one's very close too. And you could say that maybe the Eagles receivers are a little bit better than the Seahawks receivers. I'll give you that. I don't know. Maybe I'm crazy. I think if these 2 teams played, I think the Seahawks would win. I really do. Man. Oh, I just love that team so much. Maybe it's a little bit of editorializing and me just like putting in like personal favorites, but yeah. All right, and then 22 Chiefs versus 2018 Patriots. I'm gonna go Chiefs. I'm a little surprised that this Chiefs team is in the final, but I get it. I mean, again, that's just the way the bracket played out a little bit, right? That's part of the fun of the bracket format a little bit. It's a little bit more fun than just ranking them 1 through 16, right? You get to talk about these teams a little bit more. But I'm going to go Seahawks, though. Win it at all. I feel like that's legit, right? Best Super Bowl champ of the past 16 years. I feel like that's legit. There we go. We did it. Reddit. Wow. I was not expecting it to take that long. I was saying, I don't know. This might be a little bit less than 2 hours today. We are here at 9:12 now. It's been like 2 hours and 12 minutes. But yeah, that was what I had for today. I'll catch up with chat here, and then I think we're going to sign off. I need some water. I know I've got some right here, but I've been talking a lot. Michael's saying, yeah, because the other 2 are the 05 and 08 Steelers. It's a weird way of saying the 2000 Ravens and 2002 Bucks. Oh, yeah. Those are some good teams that would have been nice to talk about, too. Again, maybe a little bit before my time, but we can always dig through the history books, right? 2 legendary defenses. Caden's working on more already. Dude, honestly, I'd be down to do this again next week. This was a lot of fun. I really like this format. That would be nice if maybe not next week. At some point, though. This would be a fun off-season thing to bring back. Maybe like around the Final Four, we could do these again or something. I really like that, though. Let's go. Shout out Caden for cooking up these brackets right here. Shout out brackethq.com as well for being a nice site to use. I mean, this was easy. I could just click and just fill it out and everything. Let's go. Michael saying neither of those teams are good enough to beat the Seahawks in the Super Bowl. But, yeah. I don't know, man. That's all I've got for today. We had a little off-season roundup and a little bit of brackets. Super Bowl runner-up. Ooh, that's a good one. All right. Store that one away. That's a good idea right there. I like that. Super Bowl runner-up. Hopefully next time I'll have my keyboard situation resolved a little bit. I mean, seriously, you should see, like, I've got my keyboard tilted. I mean, I've got my whole setup is weird right now, right? But my mouse is right here, and I'm just kind of like facing a little bit of a weird direction right now. But hopefully, I can get that resolved a little bit. I'll just stick with the original plan. I'm gonna try and go Wednesday night every week. That's my typical plan. There might be some give or take here, right? You never know. But as of right now, that's like the default. I'll still make an announcement or something so you guys can have an idea of what to expect. But I would say most weeks expect Wednesday night, same time. But appreciate you guys tuning in. You guys have a good night as well. Let's go. That was fun. I like that. That was nice. But all right, I'll catch y'all later. Y'all have a good one.